Yeah, so rooks are better than knights, but unfortunately here there's passed pawns galore. Watch out for the king though, the king might get mated. In fact, the king just got ensnared in the mating net. Rook d3 is so smart, trade under b7, you can't stop the pawns. Just push, just don't stop pushing. And you're up on time, go, 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 go. This is huge. You're gonna, don't flag though. Take on e4, get a queen. Queen f4. Oh my, white's gonna lose. Wow, that was nuts. That was so crazy. That means Gotham Chess moves on by flagging. That is, I mean, that's by far the closest match we had. That was so crazy. Welcome everyone to the Royal Arena Kings. I just said Royal Kings. I was merging Arena and Kings together. But welcome to Royal Arena Kings Streamers Championship Week 8 Bullet. So that means I am not playing this week, but I will be talking to you all about the games that are underway. Here are some of the top players playing. Penguin GM1, that is a fan favorite for sure, especially in Bullet. GM JLH, that's Jon Ludvighammer, the Norwegian who almost qualified for the Speed Chess Championship. Didn't quite make it. He lost to Leonard Dominguez, but such is life. Then after him, we have player Leon Leveage. I've played that player before, but I don't know who it is. We have John Bartholomew, Finns. Last Seven Samurai that's a Turkish flag, so probably JJ. Gotham Chess, Levy Rosman. Chess Queen, that is Grandmaster Alexandra Ksenia. Paul from St. Petersburg, who's been dominating as of late. Don't actually know who that player is. And Chessically Inclined, we have some others here as well as we, there's many, many good players in the field, but yeah, we'll see. This is, always some unknown factors because some low-rated players win a lot of games against other lower-rated opposition. BJH13, what's up? Chessbay94, calling me Hespe, I love it. Paul David, 2811, and Stevis5 says, Hess, the legendary magician, come on. Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm waiting for the action to start, and it's about to start in 16 seconds, according to the official tournament. And with that, I'm going to keep on following different players just to make sure that I'm definitely going to have to have Penguin GM1 going on here. Hammer, we'll get him as well. And Finns, let's get that action going. And Last Samurai, and we'll see other players as they get underway here, but okay, the action is taken off. Penguin GM1 with the white pieces playing Hammer, so a great first matchup. And this pin doesn't work, C6, exactly, castle. And black is doing pretty fine right now. Everything's going to come off on D5, because if you took the pawn, the B5 pawn would hang. So we have the C file under white's control. Rook C6 here forces the knight out of A6, and you can play Rook C7 after that. But there was exactly this knight B4 move. Uh-oh. So lots of rooks under attack. Now, Rook takes C1. Black has to be better in this endgame because take on G7, King G7, the king rushes very quickly to the E6 square. Bishop C5, so the A2 pawn can be captured, but instead Hammer chooses A5. He can put his pawn on A4, knight on D3. And this is exactly what's going to happen. Knight E1 here, but now Bishop H6. I would try to get my bishop into the action. The good news is with the knight here, the king can't get into the territory. I would have left my knight on C1 to go to D3, but instead Hammer puts it to B3, threatening to capture on C5. In fact, you can just capture on C5 right there. So if he took on C5, the B2 pawn was collapsing after it. So here, let's see, clock about equal, 25 seconds apiece, and Hammer's doing the right thing. He is the stronger player between the two. Not at bullet necessarily, but in over-the-board chess. And here we're going to see a draw by repetition. Okay, not actually, because Penguin GM1 plays on. So let's see, with the clock situation, Hammer's the one actually up half a second, but he's the slower of the two players, that's for sure. D5 was hanging. Hammer's going to lose this game. Yeah, now all of a sudden Penguin GM's up 3 seconds, and there's no way to compete with the quickness of Penguin GM1. So unfortunately for Hammer, he is indeed going down. He's also down material now, second pawn. He is, now it's going to be loses bishop or knight. Everything's hanging, and the rest is history. Just put your knight on g4. Okay, white could have put his knight on g4 to stop any movement. This is clearly good enough. Wow, they're just moving so fast here. And Penguin GM should flag Hammer. Just put the king in some checks. There it goes. 1.2 seconds left. Let's move over to Finns. What is going on here? Why is there a king on d7 and black's down a pawn as well? So unknown phenomena. Don't know who that is, but huge question mark on that player's position right now. Andrew is such a beast, Chessmate. That's very true. Totally awesome player. Sorry, just checking on something. And here in this game, okay, JB is just cruising. I take on g7. Okay, could have taken on g7 to take on h8. Instead is just up how many pawns? Just 2, but completely dominating position as well. Down 5 seconds on the clock, so unknown phenomena will have to just play quickly. And the d5 pawn hangs. That's the problem when you're down on the clock. You start moving very quickly, and you often make mistakes. The good news for JB is this e pawn is barreling through e7 now, and you're losing a piece. The knight is pinned to the rook, so you take on e7. Now you just gobble up d5 square. Is Dogs of War playing? I'm not sure at all. I'm trying to keep up with everything, but right now we're on JB's game. So he's winning this one, trading off the rooks. This is the easiest way to go. Just gobble up all the pawns. Rook d8 there was way better, but this works too. Take the rook and get a queen. So that's over. Last Samurai has a beautiful position with the white pieces, temporarily down a pawn, but not. Bishop takes e5, distracts the bishop on b8 because knight a7 check would have picked up the queen. So instead, black took the knight on b5 but is down a piece, and this king is still not safe because if you look at the long diagonal here, the bishop cuts off access to the king. So one check that can't be blockaded will finish the job. Queen e6 you can just take on. Queen c5 check would have led to mate because the queen couldn't block, but this is still very good. Taking a queen d7 mate. Okay, missing mate in 1 because the bishop at g3 did the rest of the work. Tanu Kinaz, hopefully no aneurysms here, but yes, it is very fast paced. And this game, Penguin GM1 up a queen with the black pieces. I am not particularly worried about his technique to finish off. Hammer with the black pieces here. Hammer seems to have interesting positions in all of his games. There's 2 knights do well to come for the d4 square. And by taking the d4 square under control, you actually put pressure on the knight on d5. So white is sacrificed in exchange, but is it enough? Because white only has 1 pawn for that exchange, and this pin is quite nasty. Queen e5 is always playable. Watch out for the a7 pawn, but then you take on e4. So a7 is hanging, but yeah, queen e4. Now you hit the rook, you hit the knight, that's game over. Queen takes d5 is game. Oh, queen e1 checkmate is even better than queen takes d5. So I'm also missing mates in 1. Monkborn, you're watching Royal Arena Kings, and it's bullet today, so I'm going as fast as possible. As you can tell, I can talk pretty quickly when I have to, but here with the black pieces, Finns, crowd favorite, losing to Doraemon 7, and the reason he's losing is maybe in a classical game he can hold this, but he's down 1.5 seconds on the clock. He's also down a pawn, so that was a very smart break here. Bishop f4 check, king h3, start pre-moving. And up now 3 seconds is Doraemon, and I've played both these players before. And Doraemon is quite a good pre-mover, playing as quickly as possible. There's rook h1 was mate. So what you should have done is when the rook was here, there was rook h1 checkmate, missed on the board. So unfortunately for Finns, he went down again. So off to Last Samurai. So this is actually an interesting endgame. We have the 3-on-2, so f5, f4, g4, f3. Just play quickly over there on the king side, and now you're going to win the queen side pawns. So Last Samurai is cruising here. Play b6, good move. Asking white to commit his king, and now play f4, which should do the trick. Oh, he's gonna play h1 then g4, thematic. Oh, okay, g4. Oh, no, g4 was not queening in time. Instead, goes this way. Pawn queens. The white pawn is One move too slow. If it was on h7, this would be a draw. Now, unfortunately, black is doing the work. G moves. I see you have no time against Penguin GM1, so even though you're up a rook, G moves was, no time left remaining. Hey, Magnuth Carlton, legendary magician, thank you. Let's go over to Finns and Golden State Warriors. Uh-oh for Finns fans, because this Queen H8 is a big threat. If you take on G6, pawn takes G6 here. And so I'm just trying to check all of my, lots of messages being sent just about the stream. Queen takes G7, where's this king going? Finns is having a bad day. Not good. And this is a great matchup between Yoon Ludwig Hammer, JLH, and the chess queen, the one and only Alexandra Ksenia. And you throw in this bishop b4 check to take away the c3 square from the knight. This pawn does help white secure control of the d4 square. What is Ksenia doing down 20 seconds on the clock? You can't do this against a player of Hammer's caliber. So not only you're down a pawn on the board, you're also down essentially, 3 pawns on the clock if you want to talk about time being sort of like material. They say in bullet chess, fast moves are often more valuable than good moves. And you're welcome, O, huge underline, O, you're too long. Japan's up 1-0 on Belgium, Chessbay is telling me. Thank you, Chessbay. I told Simon and Aaron Hawaii, Simon Montreal and Aaron Hawaii, they were supposed to be telling me the score. They have not been doing so. Simon actually was talking, saying that Japan had no chance. I said Japan's a solid team. And look at this 93, that's a fork. And at the end of this, black is going to be down lots of material because you're going to take on f1, and this is a resignation. Black indeed resigned 3 minor pieces for 1 rook. That is plenty. We have Last Samurai Paul from St. Petersburg. Paul's from St. Petersburg blundered a pawn on b7. Both players didn't see it. Now, that's a free pawn. That bothers me. You want the rook to b1 to pile pressure on b7, and you didn't capture. At least now e7 is falling. And it's not the end of the world for black because c3 is such a weakness. Knight g5, queen h5 now, game over. Mate on h7 and f7. F7 is not technically mate, but it does the trick. Now you just take on e7 with the rook. Oh, taking with the rook, forced you're getting a queen. Now I guess you're going to go rook d8. And if rook d8 now, rook takes d8 pawn. This is the fancy way of doing it. You take the rook on c8 and get a queen. But if you had taken on rook d8 there, he would have had rook e8 check at the end. And we're back to Penguin GM1, who has shot himself towards the top of the leaderboard here. Not quite in first because the Golden State Warriors 30 and Halvard HF are in first. And wait a second. Quick material count shows me that Dorimon is up a queen for a rook. Opposite color bishops, and the only reason that's important is there are going to be some checking opportunities, especially with the somewhat vulnerable black king. But in a classical game, this would be easily winning for black. In this kind of time control, not at all. You just don't have the time to deliver the checkmate that you'd like. Okay, that pawn was important. Whoa. Okay, now it's just a matter of the clock situation. White is up some time, and now my white is up a piece. This is over. I mean, Penguin GM1 is too fast. Just way too fast. It's unbelievable. The guy just like pre-moves like super accurately. So pre-moving is easy. Just putting a piece on a square is easy. Putting your piece on a good square is the hard part. And Finns, who to this point has been disappointing, has an overwhelming initiative on the king's side, though actually is down a piece for that attack. So Finn's trying to blast through at some point. I mean, g5 feels necessary at some moment. Now the queen is the square. Knight's coming e3 to f4. Queen f4. Got your queen trapped. This square is free. Whoa. That was a good time to sacrifice material back. Rook takes... What? Rook takes h6 was the move there. Was necessary. So what's the situation? White is actually up a pawn, and now that is brutal. Rook takes f7, take on h7, h7 by you, rook g8, get a queen. Game, set, match. You can just take everything. Queen, 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 queen. Rook d7. Okay, rook d7, next move. Over there. I mean, you just have to essentially not flag. And Finns is down to 4 seconds left, but this is checkmate 1. Oh no, I didn't see the king was coming to e4. Oh no, Finns. Oh no, you're losing this. Finns lost on time. That's unbelievable. He had an insurmountable lead with extra queen and rooks and just, unfortunately, was too slow. Penguin GM won that game because he was delivering a checkmate. And actually, let's follow Penguin GM versus Golden State Warriors, because Warriors in first place, Penguin GM in second place. This is a tough matchup for sure here between these players. And it looks like my scoreboard's a little bit cut off, so at some point I may try to fix that. But for now, let's focus on the chess. Here, Penguin GM1 is hoping to get into these hanging pawn structure, and by taking on e5, you relieve some of the protection on c4. So taking on a5 was a way to keep c4 on the board, but you lose material. And now black is up a clean exchange, is a much better position, and so should go on to win this game. But anything does happen in bullet, but not to Penguin GM. The queen d5 hits the knight on e5, that's queen h1 check. Rook b3 was a good move there because the queen would not have been able to defend this e5 knight so easily. So e4, rook takes, queen takes e5 now. All the trades in the world. You move rook c1. I could have rook c1 trading the last pair of rooks. Okay, resignation because black is doing well on the clock and winning on the board. Finns has an isolated d pawn, but is just taking away the g2 pawn. This a pawn is actually surprisingly fast, so you can keep pushing that pawn. Go rook b3 at some point, and the a pawn rolls. And now actually rook h3 is a pretty huge threat. But rook h3, queen c4. Oy. I mean, rook h3 is definitely going to be a good move at some point. a7 here. Now rook a or h3. Rook h3 would have forced a queen trade on the c4 square, so that's why I was suggesting it. But now these pawns are... Queen e2 check, king moves, the b3. Look at Finns, no time on the clock. This is not Finn's day at all. Penguin GM, where are you? Playing Mr. Elham Riese. So Mr. Elham, I remember from Pro Chess League. Unfortunately for Elham, suffered many, many losses. Here with the white pieces is down one pawn, is about to struggle on this b3 square as well. The pawn on b4 is well defended by this bishop. Now rook takes b4 actually. Rook b4, bishop b4, queen f6. That might be a good distraction with rook takes b4. So it's something that was definitely worth considering by Mr. Elham. Now queen takes d5, we trade queens, go rook d7, and then this bishop has a problem. Play rook b7 here. You tie the rook down in the back rank because rook b8 check was a pretty big threat. Now you have to make a decision. Do you play rook b8 or try to bring this bishop around? But now, yep, bishop d2. I thought rook c3 first was by far the better move there because rook c3 would have won the b3 pawn and protected b4 in the process. Now bishop takes b4 and white is no worse. White is not down on the clock. So Mr. Elham may take off the first half point and end Penguin GM's 7-game winning streak. So white should never lose this game. White may lose this game just because of how fast Penguin GM is. Now the break, f4, king f5, king g4, king f3 is coming. Ignore the pawn on f4 even, it's not important. So g takes f4, the king snakes in. Other moves don't really save the day. And look at the 7 seconds, 6 seconds counting down. So unfortunately for Mr. Elham, he's spending way too much time at this moment and is, of course, just going to lose. So thank you to everyone who's tuning in right here. I see there's over 5,400 Twitch viewers right now and everyone watching as well on chess.com/TV. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is mayhem, honestly, just trying to cover all of these bullet games. It's not easy at all. But Halvard HF is in first place. I'm going to try to renew that screen capture because right now, at least on my screen, the standings look a little bit off here. But let's see if I can make some sort of adjustment here. Yeah, I mean, I'll fix it later. Right now, I'll just leave it. I'll just tell you who's in first. Right now, Penguin GM's in second. I just seem to have that part cut off. And GMJLH is playing right now. And with the white pieces, okay, I gotta go e4. I don't really want to trade the light square bishops too badly. But okay, now there's some threats at e4. The rook has to move off the diagonal on e5. So e4 is a e4, rook takes d4, and then e5. That's the move to use. So go e4 here. Yep, there's e4, rook takes d4, e5. If you go rook takes d4, sorry, bishop takes d4, bishop takes d4, e5, then knight c6, and you protect the bishop on d4. So e5, this move order is very precise. Oh, this is, I didn't even realize that Penguin Jim was black. So he's actually about to suffer his first defeat at the hands of Grandmaster Hammer. This is an awesome game here. After knight c6, a queen g4, of course, queen f4. Am I mating you in time? So queen f4, rook takes d1, then I would go queen h6, and if my queen is on h6, I'm delivering mate. Now rook c1 wins, because this knight on c6 is hanging. You have to move your queen. Queen h6 distracts the queen back to the f8 square, then I take on c6. So unfortunately for queen h6 here wins on the spot. You have to go queen f8, and I trade on f8 and take this knight on c6. So good for Hammer to knock off Penguin GM1, that's Grandmaster Tang. And we have Last Samurai. So the Last Samurai, this playing EFRND. So essentially friend, intentionally spelled incorrectly. Black just took a pawn, so it's up one. This pawn structure is ugly here. That hangs a rook. The bishop on a2 can move backwards. So that is a sad blunder by EFRND. We have Penguin GM1 again. I'm going to try to start following some other players like Halvard. He deserves it. You know, he's been up toward the top. It's hard for me to know who will stay at the top. So I want to give as many people watch their games, but sometimes people catch me off guard and then I have to go find them. So I'm following UNC07. I'm following Halvard HF. I'll give Checkmate 3141 a follow as well. And some of these players will just play each other a lot, so we'll get all their games in. Here's Halvard with the black pieces. Queen just mopping up pawns, missed a forced checkmate. Queen f3, queen f2, knight g3. Oh, the knight can't move. That's why it's not forced checkmate. Queen f2 takes a free rook, though. It was pretty good. Now play e2. Okay, the queen was protected here, so e2. Okay, knight h4 also works it. Oh, actually it loses. The rook on e8 is hanging, and then what? What was that? Queen takes e8, rook f7 was a forced checkmate. But okay, Mrs. Sweetie won on time, so that was a tremendous oversight by both players there, but Mrs. Sweetie ends up on top. And let's see, Loxness, I don't know how you pronounce that, and Penguin GM. So Penguin GM saying, I'm going to take control of this d file. This d6 square in particular is great for my rook. If you're black, you can try to go e5 and knight d4. Now you can't do that with the rook so well guarded. Yeah, maybe knight d8. This looks not great at all. But I would have gone knight d8, try to bring the knight to f7 to kick this rook from the d6 square. This is a tough position for black, especially in quick chess. With this knight on e5, now d7 is a clear target. You can always go f4, bishop f3 if you want to trade bishops. Queen d4 to pile up the pressure on the d7 square. So here, a4 doesn't work because it's capturable, but if my pawn were on a4, I could go b5. So maybe a4 is better than queen d4 right away. So bishop f3 to take away the defense of d7. Queen to b6 is possible. All right, this b5 push is also very good. This is terrible for black. These pieces can't move. Game over. So G moves beat Finns. Finns is just struggling like crazy. Halvard F in 4th place with the black pieces here. Excuse me, up in exchange. Can take on f1, take on g4, play queen e5. Yep, everything played. So Halvard, and he's up, wow, 16 seconds or so. So that's easy enough for him. Finns against Penguin GM1. We should stick on these top players. So Finns has been very slow. King f1 was a mouse slip. Of course, white was trying to castle. The king got stuck on the f1 square. But sometimes even when you mouse it like this, you're still doing okay. King comes to g2, move your rook over. You're totally normal. You just sort of lost a couple tempi. And what black's trying to do is, I would say black may want to put his knight on e4, but now the knight's coming into the c4 square. And if you do even trade on the c4 square, the black pawn structure is improved. And yeah, knight c4 is quite nice here. And I like what white did. White went around it. So you can put your knight on c4, but I'm going to continue piling pressure on c6. Now knight takes c5 takes rook takes c5. You may lose the c pawn, but king h7 I guess you have to play. Otherwise rook c8 is coming. The queen is sort of trapped. If we ever trade, you take back here. So looks to me like white is just up a pawn. Queen d7 to f5 I think was much better there. Queen d7 pinned this rook, and then your queen would have come into the action via f5. Now e4. d4 does not help black at all. In fact, you just trapped your own rook. This is so far so good for Finns here. That's a big blunder. That's a very necessary pawn. Queen d7 check, and c7, game over. Oh, go c7, you win the game on the spot. We're going c7, you threaten queen with mate. So, okay, he won anyway. He was up 5 seconds, but I was worried because Finns has been struggling with his clock management. And here we have UNC 07, so I guess we have a Tar Heels fan, and playing the Turtle 2048. Both of them around 1450 with the black pieces. UNC 07 is up a bishop for 1 pawn. This pawn can and should be captured. Take on a7 at some point would be smart. That way you just get rid of the 2 pawn, excuse me, 1 pawn. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. You would leave them with 1 pawn left and have 2 pawns for the bishop. Now bishop takes a5, of course, is coming. King d4 would have run into bishop c3 mate. Black is just trying to move fast and is moving poorly. That was a tremendously awful move, because now all black needs to do is take these 3 pawns. And it's a very tall task with such little time remaining. But if you're UNC 07, you got to take. Okay, well now you're not taking anything. Okay, not bad so far. Bishop d5. Oh, 1 pawn too slow. There's still this a pawn. Black is not in time. Okay. Penguin GM1 with the white pieces here against Bet Latelli, 1976. So this is a very lopsided battle here. But Bet Latelli's trying. Let's see. Even material, just this king is in a bad way. Hang a piece is not really a free piece because take and queen takes. Okay, queen e6 and take on e8, checkmate. Fell for it. You fell for it. Penguin GM rarely blunders pieces, so that was not the right decision to capture there. And we have Halvard HF playing Français man, so Frenchman. Let's get hype. Love the use of the emote there. Just everyone, nice to see you all here. I am struggling with the heat. It is very, very hot in New York City, which is where I live. But, you know, I'm gonna have to ignore the sweat that will inevitably pour down my face as this queen comes to e4 and delivers some problems. So look at the battery situation here. Black has the bishop leading the way for the queen. White has the queen leading the way for the bishop. And so with this being the case, h7 is a big problem. So, okay, sacrificed, go f4. f4 was a way to remove this bishop from h2 and then play rook g1. But okay, instead we see that white enters this endgame up a pawn, but it's a very useless pawn. The extra pawn is in fact this doubled f pawn, which is stuck in its tracks. And this rook should, oh, that's not good. And rook takes c6, of course, was better, but the rook should have went to b5 and over to b3. That was clearly a better plan of action. This side of the board is locked down for now. These are, wait. Can't tell who's trying to win and who's trying to lose. It seems like both players are, wait, king d5 allowed this pawn to queen. Now black's better because you're getting this pawn. So black is in a winning endgame. Did not deserve to be, but is. But black has 4.7 seconds left. So I don't think black is going to make it in the 4 seconds. White is moving very quickly, and we're already getting closer to over the board draw territory. That's winning. No, f2 is winning, but okay, it's a draw. No material left for white. No time left for black. That is splitting the point, half point each. Penguin GM1 with the white pieces here, and with the white pieces, we see that he has got his pawn e5, which is doing well to cement this knight onto d6 square. Unfortunately for white, he has sacrificed a pawn in the process. And it being down a pawn, now a threat is knight takes e5, undermining the protection of the knight on d6. Knight takes d3, of course, some moment will be perfectly playable. And, okay, white has regained his pawn, but if we take a peek at the position here, queen takes g2 check is a good move, take on g2, take on d3. And what I was going to say was that white also has weak pawns in the position. Now, knight takes e6 was a threat. With the rook pinning the pawn f7, knight e6 was the threat, so black moved the king. Watch out for some ideas with knight to e7 check. The bishop does cover the square, both of them, and so knight e7 check doesn't actually do much of anything for the time being. And so black has gotten away from what looked like a challenging position with up 2 pawns, so with 2 extra pawns. And yes, Penguin GM is an amazing bullet player, but as you see in this game, he does struggle in certain matchups. And so here, things are going well for the Golden State Warriors 30 player. I don't know who it is. I don't know the name of the player, but very, very strong. Now that was a piece. Okay, blundering some material. And knight c2. Okay, pinning that bishop. Okay, so we have an equal endgame in terms of material, but look at the time situation. White is moving very, very quickly here. Black is up a little bit in time, but white just got a queen. And with that being said, white is up a queen, and the king was run over run over to the pawn, and flagged him. WW Felina. Firstly, love that username. WW Felina. That's great, but also WW Felina says don't even play chess, but this is fun. Chess is a fun game. Maybe you should start playing chess as well. So we could always use more players. Happy to see people playing chess. And here in this game with checkmate 31-41 against chess queen. So this is what starts happening in this format is once the lower rated players start beating up on their like rated competition, they end up playing some strong players. And in this case, well, chess queen is up, 10 seconds and about to get a queen and is up a rook and the bishop already. So this is completely game over. That was an unnecessary queen loss, but just flag. Chess queen, just flag your opponent. Stop taking time, just pre-move the rest of the way. Doesn't matter what you do, black is gonna lose on time. But okay, playing principal chess. So it looks like Hammer beat Finns. Finns has suffered many, many defeats. And here we see Hammer playing against chess queen. That is former women's world champion Alexandra Ksenia. If you think you can beat Tang, you better wake up and apologize, Neomatic1 says. I never said I could beat him. I just was noting that there are things that he's not perfect with, and that is a fact, and he's human, and he's still extremely strong. So Tang won't be surprised if that's Penguin GM1 if he finishes in first place, but there was no insult, at least not intended, and I don't think there actually was one. So here, Hammer and chess queen. So she's trying to lock down the dark squares here. You see the queen and bishop lining up the e7 pawn. By trading everything on the c file, you get into an endgame where black has a double pawn, and white is going to try to play against that. In particular, the bishop on b7 may be staring into a wall of pawns rather than any open space. And bishops love their open diagonals. Rhetorical force, hello friend. Hello, back to you. Yukafuzz is top player engine user or just not caught up yet? I see what you're asking. No, the thing is that in this Arena Kings format, players don't necessarily play, like, a 1300 maybe playing other 1300s. And for those of you who are new to chess and don't play chess too much, the rating system works as follows. The higher your rating, the better you are. Pretty straightforward. So you see here that Hammer is 2751, chess queen is 2449. Hammer is the better bullet player here on Chess.com server. And they are playing each other much more frequently than some of the lower rated players. Queen, they both keep missing this a6 pawn, being under threat. Take on d4, take on b5. And I have a hard time imagining black is going to win this game just because the king seems a bit vulnerable. So the queen will just continue checking. And not to mention that Ksenia with the white pieces is up 7 seconds. So she should be able to hold this one. We'll see, because you can pre-move a ton as black and end up getting an even bigger advantage on the board, and the time advantage is actually lessening. If you see the clock right now, Hammer only down a couple seconds. Ksenia really not playing that quickly. It seems like she may She may struggle with some of the pre-moves. Now, how they're able to make moves so fast takes me a while to think my move out. In bullet chess, you often aren't really thinking, honestly. You're just moving as quickly as possible. And so, you rely a lot on your intuition, your chess skill, like just some of your previous games help inform you of what strategies to employ and things like that. And here we have Penguin GM1 with the black pieces, and that is nice. After take on f3, if the king takes f3, you lose the rook for free. If the pawn took on f3, there was bishop h4 check. That was an option. So now black is up material. So that's funny. Dad of Dog, crowdfund a razor for Robert. Well, Robert owns plenty of razors, but was feeling particularly lazy and didn't feel like shaving. Am I participating in the tournament Rhetorical Force? I am not. I am trying to commentate as best as possible, but as they move very, very quickly, it's not super easy. Crypto with the white pieces is losing this one. This pawn is going to promote. This pawn is absolutely not, because it's too slow and the bishop can always sacrifice for the pawn. And actually, why sacrifice when you can win it for free? So, pinning and winning. All right, so, sorry, I was looking at my phone there. I want to let you all know about the format here. The way this works is we are seeing 2 hours of bullet chess underway. You see, I actually should screen capture the clock here, but this event will end at 5 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know where you are in the world, but 5 p.m. Eastern time is 2 p.m. Pacific. That will be 11 across many countries in Europe. So at this part of the event will end at 5 p.m. Eastern. Then there will be the top 8 places will compete in a knockout. And so that we'll have a bracket of 8 players. They will play a best of 5. So 3 points wins that match. And the bracket will be knocked down until finally we're left with 1 champion. So consider it your March Madness. And let me try to do something for everybody here. This should be done. Ooh, that got really big, but I wanted to get the clock situation going here, just to keep everyone posted with how much time's left. And it got huge on the screen, but I will just keep it somewhere over here. I don't even mind covering up part of my my camera image, but you see above me, that would be over here. There is the clock ticking down. That's how much time is left in this stage of the Arena Kings. So I hear Belgium, Japan 2-2, and I am very upset that I'm missing that, but so be it. I'm doing this commentary here. Now back to the actual commentary. What is going on here? 44 seconds to 13 seconds. We have 2 slightly lower rated players than we've been seeing for the most part here. And this 1900 is clearly much, much quicker than the 1727 and Mana Itul. Don't know how to pronounce that properly. And so the fact that black is up a minor piece, the bishop is totally meaningless here because white is up 35 seconds and is about to flag black. So you see the clock, black is about to, won by resignation. He was losing by material, but he won by resignation just because of the clock situation that black knew that he could lose on time no matter what. Whew, time for just to take a breath here. Back to Finns. Yeah, the problem from thing is not a scroll, it's a screen capture. So I'm actually gonna fix the standings that are being asked about. So let me do that real quick. Okay, I'm gonna remove that. So I'm going to capture the standings better. So for all of you to see how these players are doing. That should be new and improved. So hopefully, let's shrink it a little bit, but I think y'all can see the standings now. I don't know if it's too small, but if it is, just let me know. Actually, that kind of erased sort of some of the numbers here. So let me, well, actually that just says streak of 4 for, I guess I didn't capture enough of it. But more or less you see the standings here. So it's a streak of 4, so it pushes the number aside, just how, the fire symbol means how many games in a row the player has won. So Penguin GM1, that's everybody's favorite bullet player here, is Tang. So where is Tang right now? There you are, playing Hammer. So we're in a Rook endgame, and white is better here because look at this pawn at a6. It's further down the board, so it's keeping the black pawn at a7 stuck, of course, and Rook g5, that is not what you want to do because now Rook takes a7, the h7 pawn's also, you can take on h7 first if you want, the a7 pawn's not going anywhere, and he's playing Rook g7, he's going to play a7 next. This Rook is going to try to get behind the pawn, so Rook to h1 is necessary. You can't even consider taking it because the endgame, just the pawn endgame is winning. Now the endgame is winning because look what white's doing. Rook c6 check going after this pawn. You're going to take this one. So this pawn is irrelevant. You take that pawn and go Rook a3. So Rook a3 now wins on the spot. Can't stop me from promoting. Take on a5, a7, a queen, game over. And that means Tang is going to increase his lead in this tournament. Oh, actually, I just saw the Golden State Warriors player is back in the lead. So now Tang and Golden State Warriors, where are you, Golden State? Why don't I see your game? Am I not following you? I'm not following you. Now I'm following you. I'm following so many players. So Golden State here with the black pieces is in first place in the tournament. Leon Leveich, or Leveich, yeah, I assume Leveich, doing well in the event as well, with 47 points total. And the way the scoring works is you get more points for streaking. So if you start going on a winning streak, you end up getting more points for your victories. So you're rewarded for going on. So I'm just checking out some of the chats that I got going on here. Trying to keep on top of everything at once. All right. So black here is Golden State Warriors first place in the standings. And this knight can come to e5, the knight can come to c4, but the problem is h pawn is very quick. Actually, this pawn has moved too far, I would say. Because this knight has a very difficult time helping this pawn. Well, so black lost a knight, black won the knight back. Somehow this game is the weirdest, and you know, sometimes in bullet you just play absolutely terrible moves because you have no time. Rook h7 was a great decision. So Rook h7 just cost white several seconds, and now in fact it's stalemate. Stalemate's a draw because the king has no squares to go to. The rook covers all the squares, the queen covers the rest. Wow, that's a stalemate. What happened here was instead of taking the queen, black left the queen on the board and then just made white, who probably pre-moved something else, lose more time. So that was a phenomenal way to hold this game. Just really crazy. So Ksenia, where are you? I don't see your game right now. I see Ginger GM. So if you're a chess fan, you certainly know Spicy Chess and Ginger GM's stream and videos. And of course, Ginger GM is down some material, in this case 2 pawns, but is trying to blast the position open more for the pieces. Unfortunately, because white is up 2 pawns and there's not an immediate attack, white can consolidate quite well. This knight at some point will find its way to e5 if necessary. It just closes down the position. The queen on f2. Okay, queen g5 would have been pretty good there. Haha, knight f7's checkmate. And a fork on the queen. The king can't move because the queen cuts off all escape squares. That one check means game over. Cryptol with black against hammer with white. And here we see that this d5 pawn is pinned, so knight c3. Now you're threatening to actually take on c6, but not really, because if you take on c6, queen c6, it was check to the king on g2. So instead, white is playing like this. So black is temporarily up a pawn. That pawn does not look like it's staying on the board forever. So, okay, a pawn sacrifice, because a pawn b3, queen b3, then knight b5, trying to expose black's king side, which is the queen side of the board. So this doesn't look like a real attack. Looks like more wishful thinking than anything. I totally didn't even think about that move. But queen f1 here, or knight g1. Both are good moves. I would have went queen f1, offering the trade of queens. Now this rook can swing back, and there's going to be a problem down the c file. Queen takes g1 here. No, take one with the queen. You're going to hit the a7 pawn. Okay, so now if king h1, rook takes g3 as a hanging pawn. If not king h1, there might still be some rook takes g3 stuff. Just blasting open the king. Rook G3, Queen G3. You got to do it in bullet, but I'm not sure it actually will pan out. Well, Queen H2 here. Oh, Queen H2 runs right into knight takes F3 check. That's a pretty big threat in knight F3. Followed by Rook takes G3. What do you do? King F2. They're still taking on G3 with the queen. Queen takes G3. Queen G3, King E3, Queen F4 check. Then Rook. What? Go back here. No. What are you doing? Queen G3 to F4. The queen belongs in F4 with check. Queen F4. No. Queen F4 check. King F2. Then Rook G2 check. Cryptal would have won this game instead of ending up in this both a losing position and about to get flagged. Let's get hype. Trying to get hype. Paul from St. Petersburg playing against Last Samurai. So Last Samurai is up a lot of material and now is up even more material. King G5 coming, winning the G4 pawn. Black has 3 pawns and a bishop versus a bear king. That's more than enough for victory. I have to keep remembering that the time is right above my head. So sometimes I'm moving my head behind the clock, and I'm not trying to, you know, say anything too smart about that, but I just keep forgetting. Here, Halvard HF 2014 playing a 1638. And White's up a bishop and 2 pawns, so that should be easy enough. So Black has a little bit of compensation now because the F2 pawn is a target, but the G7 pawn is more important. Bishop takes G7 followed by Bishop D5. C7 is also hanging, so this wins the Rook. The Bishop's hanging. Game over. We have Gotham Chess versus GMJLH. Gotham Chess, quite popular streamer. I saw that he was streaming earlier, and Yoon Ludwig Hammer, very well known to the chess community and to the online streaming community as well. And Parsa9, you're watching a chess tournament stream because we all make mistakes, but sometimes mistakes are a good thing. So you ended up here, you didn't mean to, but you're in the middle of a chess tournament here, and it's not just any old chess tournament, it's the Arena Kings, Royal Arena Kings. There's a bullet stream. All these players are streaming on their channels, or they should be streaming on their channels, and they're trying to outplay their opponents in the bullet chess format. That means 1 minute for the entire game. And Peckerwood 0, I don't know if you just called yourself a mistake or saying you made a mistake, but either way, I'm sure you didn't. And welcome to the chat here. So reading the Chess.com TV chat as well. What's the score of the Belgium-Japan game? Somebody give me the score. Skedaddle, I do have tips on openings, but it really depends on your style. Shammy BR, I heard Professional Chess has more memorization than thinking. That's absolutely false. You do need to memorize certain opening lines, but it's way more important to understand the opening lines and understanding the structures, the different themes of the position, the nuances. Now, what is flagging? Skangle. Flagging is when you cause someone to lose on time. So that's what we call in chess, your flag falls. And the reason why it's called flagging was because nowadays there are digital clocks, but there used to be their little flag on the timer, the chess clock, and it would fall down. It's called flagging. So that was not a great move taking here. Oh, actually, this looks great. You're gonna take on G8. Okay, well, forcing the king over to G7 may have not been the best. Bishop F6 check, Queen G7 mate. So Vladimir Damjanovic with a crushing win over Last Samurai. Whew. This looks awesome for Black. I just tuned into this game. Black is not only up a pawn, but the fact that this H file is about to be opened bodes very well for the second player. Has Magnus ever played the Royal Arena Kings bullet tournament? Not that I know of. If so, he likely would have won because he is an exceptionally strong bullet player. UNC 07 playing Paraguayo. Okay, so what's going on here? Is the material even? Yeah, some material is even. The black king is clearly out in the open, but move like bishop d6. Okay, it was bishop d6. Stopped the king from being so open and would allow the rook to come to e8. And the rook on e8 will be very powerful in the very near future. Rook e8 check. I mean, black is just cruising now. That's not a happy king. That's also not a happy queen. It's got nowhere to go. Queen h5 is possible, hoping that black doesn't see the rook is under attack. Okay, queen f2. Oh, black. Yeah, this is bad. That's a free queen. Queen c5 check is the most precise take on c3. Then play queen b4 mate. What time controls do I find to be more interesting? It depends what you mean by interesting. If you want to see the best possible chess ever, you watch classical time controls, very slow, multi-hour games. But if you don't have that kind of time, which most people don't, you prefer to see blitz games or rapid games. I don't personally like playing rapid games too much online, because when I'm playing online, I just want quick hits. Just play very quickly and get a bunch of games in. So Paul from St. Petersburg with the white pieces. Rook takes d3, beautiful shot. Beautiful shot, rook takes d3. The point is that you can't take on d3 now because its pawn is pinned to the queen on d2. If you take with the queen on d3, well, my knight protects the rook and I win your queen. So beautiful tactic by Hammer. It's normal to perform much worse over the board when you play almost exclusively online. It depends. If you're playing online and you play, a long time control over the board, you shouldn't be performing worse because, well, I guess it depends also what you mean by worse. Maybe relative to your rating or your online rating, you perform worse, but your actual gameplay is better. So rook c1 played by Hammer, just trying to pin this pawn c6. a6 is stopping knight b5 check, which was trying to pick off his bishop. Knight d5 check. I believe after this check, the king can just run back, and there is no harm in the position. Yeah. Hammer is now even on material, and very importantly, bishop g3 is a devastating threat. Queen e6. Trade off the queens. So white is, in fact, up a pawn, and now the rooks are trying to team up. So your bishop d6 is a good move. Now rook takes f7, followed rook e7 check. Okay, that hangs the b7 pawn. Didn't want to give up this pawn, that's for sure. Bishop f8 would have been blunder, hanging the g7 pawn. They're in 199 asks, am I a chess pro or something like that? I am a chess grandmaster. I also do a lot of commentary here on Chess.com and also stream on Twitch a lot. So I guess, yeah, that technically I'm a chess pro. The term professional in chess is interesting. There are a bunch of grandmasters who don't really play that much, myself included. So what's a chess GM? A chess GM is a grandmaster, the highest title in chess. The highest official title is world champion. After world champion, Magnus Carlsen is the world champion, and he is a grandmaster. Grandmaster is the highest title to possibly achieve in chess. Penguin GM1, down nothing right now, was down a pawn, has an interesting location for his king on the f8 square, but the bishop does well to defend. Knight d5, so bishop a3, knight b6, bishop takes d1. Wait, this just loses for what? He loses rook, and then his bishop hangs. Oops, sorry. There you go. Penguin GM1 wins by resignation. How does one get titles? You get titles by playing in, you get norms. So you'd have 3 performances to become a grandmaster, for example. 3 very, very high-level performances by playing in an international field and a certain number of grandmasters. And yeah, you have to get a minimum rating. Also, 3-2 Belgium, I'm being told. Well, it's not surprising to me that Belgium will be in the lead, but Japan is clearly giving them a huge fight. 97 check, picks up the c6 pawn. So what's called a fork. And now this rook is under attack, and this pawn is also under attack. Takes the pawn, and a lot of extra material for Halvard HF, who has been doing very well in these standings. Check, check. Queen of 7. Plays the mate. Queen of 7, king h6. And now queen h7 is mate. The rook covers the escape file. Okay. Oh. This rook covers the king's escape. This queen delivers the check. Game over. Parson 9, do you think it's worth it for a 17-year-old who doesn't have pro chess experience to start playing chess professionally, or is the age too old to start? I don't think it's too old to start, and I don't know what you mean by playing professionally. You know, if you mean by like just exclusively playing chess and doing nothing else with your life, that's a decision that's on you. I mean, there's a lot of financial risk involved in that, but yeah, that's on you. White just missed a forced checkmate in this game, so that's a shame for Petrosianic. And Japan is out, according to what I'm being told here in the Twitch chat. All right. It's just brutally hot outside. Oh, so for those of you who don't know, the Chess.com hosts the Pro Chess League. And the Pro Chess League are teams comprised of 4 players per match with a maximum average rating of 2,500. But I did the live commentary for all the season and did it with Danny French, Chess.com's what's it called, Chief Content Officer. I forgot his official title, but he's the guy who runs everything. But we did the match, and the team from Armenia sent me this hilarious cup. It says, what does it say? It goes, "I love Armenia, Eagles," with an old photo of me and my name. And on the other side, they gave me this, it says, what does it say? I love Armenia, Eagles still, and they have this little robotic thing going on here. And the reason why they gave this to me is because, well, Artak Manukian, who was their team manager, he calls me Alpha Zero. That's his nickname for me because he says that he likes my commentary. But I had to show you the cup as I was about to drink from it. Need to hydrate. Mom, if you're watching, I'm drinking my water, don't worry. Here with the white pieces, John Juden Ludvig Hammer from Norway. A lot of people will call him John because his name is hard to pronounce for some. He is trying to deliver what will be a pretty brutal mating net. If this bishop gets to g7, the rook will come to h1, and this could be decisive. And, you know, keep an eye on the clock that's near my head. It says 64 minutes and counting down. And that timer is for how much time is left in this portion of the game. And black did indeed get checkmated. That is Kevin Bordy, his Blitz stream. He streams in French, but he got checkmated because this rook and bishop were going to become too powerful over here on the king side. He tried to run away with his king. And note that the king has no escape squares. The pawn covers this square. The rook covers this square. The king covers the rest. So brutal end to that game. J. Lex Brown, what drew me to chess over other games that can be played competitively. What do you know, like what games are you talking about? Chess, what I like about chess is there's no randomness. You're full information in front of you. Wow, that queen was just hanging. There's full information in front of you. It's entirely skill-based. I like the competitive aspect that, it's when you're a kid especially and you lose, it's really painful because there's such a large element of individual responsibility. But, I also love the fact that when I win, I've definitely achieved something, and it's something that's very personal as well. Because in many ways, chess is also like a language. You're playing your own style. We can talk to each other. I can talk to another grandmaster and say, "Oh, did you see this game?" and think about this bishop move, this knight move, this rook move, etc. But importantly, the strategic thinking about it is just trying to think ahead and always calculate that one move further. It's very important to me. Asking about poker, well, the thing about poker is if you sit down in any given game and you're a beginner and you play me, Fortnite God, stop reciting your manual. I don't have a manual. I'm just talking on the fly. Rook at h4, checkmate, checkmate. The king has no escape square. The problem is this rook cuts off all the king's access. That is unbelievable because black was winning here. So Blitzstream got his king stuck here, and this rook delivers a check from this side. The white king covers the b3 square, the c3 square, the d3 square, and so this is a very powerful check. Only way to go is to block it with the rook, and that would be checkmate. So this game is still open. And sorry, back to poker. Yeah, if you sit down and play the highest level opposition in chess, someone who's just much better than you, and I understand that maybe this is sort of a lame way to think, but I do like poker. I play from time to time, but the fact that you can sit with the best of the world and win individual hands, or you can play a hand right, and then your opponent, someone who's at the table hits a 3, and they're losing by all cards except for a 3, and then a 3 pops up and it's out of your control. Sort of that. It's not, obviously over time, poker is very, very, very extremely skill-based. And I know some excellent poker players like Dan Smith, and they work extremely hard. And it's just that like those individual moments where you can sit down and beat the best of the world in an individual hand, that sort of bothers me, I guess. Did I ever watch StarCraft? No. And hello to our nearly 8,000 viewers right now. Yeah. Poker has more money, but also variance. Yeah. Poker is also, I think, in some ways, the individual hands are easier to comprehend, right? There's not exactly the level of knowledge required. That, I'm trying to think if you did a point system, right? Poker is very easy in the sense of kings beat queens, etc. In chess, one side may be down 2 pawns but have a winning position, and I think that's very hard for more novice players to really get a grasp of. So that's very difficult. Jennifer Shoddy is a good poker player. That's true. She plays in many tournaments. Here we have Gotham Chess and Yoon Ludwig Hammer. Yoon has more space with the white pieces. His knight on d5 is very powerful, and this is why Gotham Chess retrieved the knight to try to play c6, but now c6 at least allows white to open up more lines on the queen side. So now h3 can be captured, and that was an important pawn, because that pawn took away white's king's access to move forward. Now the king can go to g2. Knight e7 check will be played, getting the rook to the 7th rank. And now that the rook is here, it's going to apply pressure on the f7 square, and it pins this knight as well. So king g2 is always possible. Rook b3 should be considered. Knight c4, take d6. Knight takes, this rook is hanging, so you're going to rook f6. Okay. So now take that, yep. This is another weakness. So what's going on? 7 seconds for white, though. I wasn't looking at the time. So 10 seconds for black, 6.9 seconds for white. and white is not losing. In fact, this knight's been hanging. But white has 5 pawns for a knight. That is more than enough compensation. In a classical game of chess, only white could win, but with no time, white is going to flag. White is losing on time, as happened. Here, Golden State Warriors the black pieces, doing well once more. He's up 3 seconds on the clock, and his position is totally fine. But most importantly, the clock situation. So this is smart play. Yep, he flagged. White flagged. You're very clear and structured in waiting. Thank you, Schnebler. How do I recommend newer players improve? You started 2 months ago for fun. So definitely working on your openings. That can be done by looking at theory. There's a lot of theory out there that will help improve your kind of understanding of the first few moves of the game. But improving is all about calculating and trying to understand why you're making certain moves. So if you notice some themes in your game where maybe you blunder some certain things, or you notice that you end up moving your queen out too early and they start attacking your queen, these are things that you can pick up and learn from. There are a lot of tools out there. Chess.com has many resources to use. There are other good chess sites out there as well. But continuing to play will also help. It won't do everything for you. Chess is a very hard game to learn on our own, but it can. The practical experience is very helpful. So, for example, the point here is this knight on c3 could have been captured earlier, but black was really trying to take this pawn on f2. There was a knight that was here, so the f2 pawn was a clear target. Now knight b4 and knight to d3 once again applies pressure to this pawn on f2. White cannot afford to trade queens, because if white trades queens, the endgame is good for black because of the passed pawn. Queen d5 check here. Now trading the queens is better because take on d5, knight takes b5. Okay, that was a free pawn. c3 here. c3 was winning on the spot. Couldn't capture the knight because the rook would be distracted from the back rank and then this pawn would go forward. But now the black pawns are too fast. c2, b3, b2. That's a winning position. I can even take it, or I can just get a queen and ignore it. Penguin GM1. Always got to focus on Penguin GM1. Sorry, we're trying to catch up here. How often do I stream? I stream on my channel, which is not this one. It's GM Hess. I think I have a template with yeah, so this one underneath my name here, twitch.tv/GM Hess. That is my Twitch account. GM stands for Grandmaster, which is my title in chess. Hess is my last name. Yes, it is very convenient that my last name is almost like chess, even more so that both of my parents' first names start with C. So I am literally the product of chess, if you will. Back to the standings. Okay. Where do you find opening theory? There are lots of places, some of which are found on chess.com, but also if you are able to, I think you could just Google things probably. And, it depends what Google King's Pawn opening chess, and I'm sure you'll be able to find some resources. I sort of haven't searched for kind of beginner, opening resources lately, so I don't have any things off the top of my head. And can you lose a title? So chess players cannot lose their title unless, I believe, they're found guilty, not just accused, found guilty of cheating, in which case you can get your title revoked. Otherwise, it's a title for life. So there's no malpractice that can, playing bad chess can't take my title away, but cheating definitely could do the trick. Penguin GM1, put this bishop on b7, because the bishop on the long diagonal is good. So I'm just reading. Yeah. So this bishop on b7 is nice in this long diagonal, but look what white has done. White has ripped open black's kingside here, and now rook g5 check is a big threat. This bishop and queen team up on the h7 square. So it looks like Penguin GM1, Grandmaster Tang, is or should be in huge trouble here. So that was a good decision by him. Now he needs to cover this g5 square. So knight g4 hits the queen and opens up the bishop to the g5 square, and most importantly, rook h5 cannot be played right now because you lose your queen on h6. So queen h3 is a retreat. Now this rook can come over to h5 to help deliver checkmate. Pawn takes f3 is smart. Normally you don't want to shatter your kingside pawn structure, but in doing so in this game, he said he challenges the knight. If the knight moved back, then checkmate would have ensued. Now white enters his endgame up 2 pawns, but the clock situation is looking a bit challenging for white because against Tang, that's Penguin GM1, against him you really need to be up quite a few seconds to feel comfortable. And right now it's up to like 3 seconds for white, but losing all these pawns now. In fact, white is no longer up any material whatsoever. Black is completely fine and at home here, but black is down 4 seconds. So Cryptol has sacrificed good moves for quick chess, and that's definitely a strategy. But Tang is doing his best to limit the problem here. He's a check forever. So rook check, 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 and hope to get away here because the clock situation is clearly in white's favor. Okay, Tang moving quickly and getting back on the clock here. The position itself is a totally equal game. But yeah, problems for sure. Have I ever played Magic the Gathering? No. I wasn't a big... sorry, reading breaking news about Japan and Belgium on my phone. So white actually won on time. So that's kind of shocking because Penguin GM1 is so strong. He had a huge winning streak going on of 11 games. He just lost it. He still is way in first, so it's not like he has to worry about anything. And just a reminder, as there are 51 minutes left in this segment, at the end of this segment, there will be a knockout. 8 players in a knockout bracket. And it looks like Penguin GM1 would be the top seed. And if the standings ended right now, we have these 8 players, as you see here, would qualify. But there's still 50 minutes left, 50 plus minutes left in this portion. And so the results are clearly far off from being set in stone. Hammer with the white pieces, simply down a piece. And this bishop is strong as well. And this pawn is promoting. So take all the pieces off the board. Checkmate. Well played by Leon Levaich. It's so hot. All right, so Blitzstream, threatening queen h6 check, followed by rook takes rook. If you take the rook on h8, queen takes h checkmate. So queen h6 check picks up material. Queen h6 check forces king to e8. Take the rook. What is... Okay. Just checking out some of the standings here as I scroll through myself. Wow, we have over 8,000 people here. Am I really cousins with Danny? The answer to that question is, can't tell you. The world's best chess player of all time, that is up for some debate. Garry Kasparov, Bobby Fischer, and currently Magnus Carlsen are the players most commonly given the title as best player ever. They all played different eras. I would say that it's reasonably clear, at least to me, that players from the past, even world champions, are not as good as current top players because they didn't have access to engines, and there was no internet for some of them when they were playing chess. So that advantage is clear. But it's like what I always say about people in other disciplines. For example, a modern day high school physics teacher, it knows more physics than Isaac Newton does, but Isaac Newton was probably better at physics and more talented at physics, just had less information to work with. And it's a compliment to someone like Newton that currently people are so knowledgeable. So I use that example to say that there are world champions from the past who are not as good as the likes of Wesley So or Hikaru Nakamura, some top players, but they just didn't have the access. So it's not that they weren't as talented, they just weren't as good. Thoughts on Leela chess? I don't really know Leela chess. Yeah. Thank you, John, as DFGHIJKL, whatever the rest of that is. Thank you. Is what considered cheating? Don't know what's being asked. Throwing for matches for money. Yeah, you can't really throw matches. It's not acceptable. And there's the pre-move. So what black just did was cut this king off into the last file, and then pre-move his king all the way forward, and then deliver a checkmate. And let's get the Penguin GM beat Gotham Chess in a previous game. And Penguin GM playing G moves. G moves the clever handle. Looks like GM caps, but it's not. Hard to know, but both. So yeah, I mean, Kasparov and Fischer both had high IQs. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say about that. I don't really value the IQ test. I've never taken one myself. I don't really think that they hold as much value as some others do, but to each their own. Clearly, Fischer and Kasparov are amazing, beyond amazing chess players. So D5 was just played because if knight takes D5, bishop H4 check leads to a checkmate. You see, here's one tip for improving. Now it's checkmate, bishop H4. When you see a king has no squares, you think, how do I put this king in check? Not in a way where I sacrifice all my pieces, but as you noted, this bishop needed its way to deliver a check. White took with the piece that doesn't deliver a check in return, right? They're on the same line, but the knight blocks the check. And so bishop H4 was a devastating checkmate. How does one cheat in an over-the-board tournament? Well, also, you can cheat in an over-the-board tournament by having access to engines or people telling you what to do. For example, if you're you, whoever, generic you, and you say, hey, Robert, what do I play in this game? And I tell you what to play, what moves to make, well, that's cheating. You can also just, go to computer engine and look at analysis and say, my position is complicated, switch on the engine, and it'll tell you what the best moves are. Black is one move away from playing H3, not in time to deliver the checkmate. Now Rook B2. The point is that this pawn structure is 2 extra pawns for white, but these are unhealthy pawns. And the reason I say that is because you can't create a passed pawn with them. Usually you want your pawns to be connected. A pawn's best friend is another pawn. Has there ever been a checkmate on the board in a World Championship classical game? I wish I knew the answer to that question. I don't know my chess history well enough to answer that question. Sorry, just 3 seconds left for Hammer. He's going to get the win. Rook E8 checkmate 1, so he managed to get it done. Stevis 5, how can a 2100 player play at a 2700 level? Because online chess and over-the-board chess are very different. There's pre-moving involved in over-the-board chess that you don't get in classical. I can tell you from both experience playing Golden State Warriors and watching today that well, it's not even tell you from watching. I just don't like baseless accusations. Just because someone is doing well does not mean that they are cheating. And I'm actually really against just kind of making sort of claims like that. But the way people play also, there's like, some moves we just know are quote unquote computer moves. So, yeah. And Golden State Warriors, by the way, is losing this game right here to an 1867. So before you start, well, okay, Golden State's going to win the game just because of the time, but the position itself is has not been very good. Here, losing this rook. So, yeah. How old was I when I started playing chess? I was, let's see, I think I started playing in tournaments when I was like 6, maybe. My dad taught me and my 2 siblings how to play. It's very hard to cheat in Bullet. I mean, I don't even know. I don't really know how you would do it. It's ridiculous. It's so quick. I mean, I've never cheated in my life, so I couldn't tell you really how to cheat in any format. But cheating in Bullet is definitely a whole nother animal. Okay, so Intermaster is up in exchange on Golden State, and what an exchange is look at the number of rooks. Black has 2 rooks. Ooh, and black won the queen. And now it's a rook for the queen. An exchange is a rook for a minor piece, either a knight or a bishop. What are my goals with, do any of my siblings play chess still? Henry Hughes chess. My brother plays casually. My sister, no, she doesn't really play anymore. What are my goals with chess going forward? I don't really have any goals, just kind of enjoying the game, and most of what I do now is commentary based, and I coach as well, and I play from time to time. Was Danny busy today? Danny is always busy. He's busy every day. And yeah, he asked me to fill in for him today. So hopefully I'm doing a half decent job in his stead. When did I know I was good at chess? I don't really remember. I know 3rd grade was a big year for me in terms of my chess progress, but I don't remember when I knew, quote unquote, I was good. I don't know if I really thought like that. Are there any GMs who started late, say after 18? Not sure. I sort of would guess no, but actually that's not true. Maybe like back in the day there were people who did that, but these days I would have a hard time really seeing that happen. Just because to become a grandmaster you have to put so much time and energy into chess, and if you're already 18, I doubt you're going to put the necessary hours in and practice, because unless you have a lot of money and can live off some other means, it's pretty tough to do that. Thanks, Waimuni. Will the top 8 players play the playoffs? The 8 first titles, streamers only. So the way this works is when it gets to 5 p.m., so in 40 minutes, the top 8 streamers will play in the knockout. If you're not streaming and you're playing, you do not qualify for the knockout. And the players know this in advance, so this is nothing new. The whole point of this is to increase the visibility of chess, to do streaming, to be on Twitch, to be playing and helping you learn along the way. Yeah, there are definitely players who learned or started playing chess in their late preteens or who became GMs. But yeah. So maybe quit your job, move into your parents' basement and practice play chess in the early in the early 20s, and maybe then you can make it to IM. That's hilarious. What do you think is the most valuable piece in chess? I mean, that's a hard question to answer, because you have to protect your king, so I guess it's the most valuable. But it's also kind of the worst piece, because you have to protect it all the time. I love knights. Knights can jump over other pieces. They're cool. Where's Penguin? There you are. Penguin GM1 playing Gotham chess. So bishop f3 check. The pawn on g4 is not under attack because the rook on b4 was protecting it before the knight moved. The knight is moving into h5, and the reason why the knight h5 is good is it actually can help try to deliver checkmating threats. Well, not now with the rook off the board. There's no checkmates, but there were some options before. So taking, oh, a good pre-move. h5 takes g4 because white assumed that g4 would be captured and h6 would be captured. And okay, Gotham just managed to hold a draw here. Flagged, but lost in time, but no material. So what this is insufficient material. There are no checkmates happening with bishop versus knight unless you self-mate. So it's like there's a practical element there as well. I prefer bishops actually in my games, but I do love knights. And Golden State player is not streaming Geo Golden State Warrior. Go Golden State Warriors 30. I get it now. I totally get it. That player is not eligible for the bracket because not playing. So there's a Steph Curry fan. I get it. Go Golden State Warriors 30. Steph Curry's number. Go and Golden State Warriors. So I wonder if that person's from the Bay Area or if they're just a bandwagon fan of one of the most dominant teams in any sport in history. If he turns on stream for a few games, it's too bad. Should have been streaming from the beginning. Do you think the average amateur player level of chess is higher now than it was 10 years ago because of all these apps and video lessons? I don't know about the average because maybe there are more people playing chess and more people who are not necessarily learning. So it's kind of hard to answer that question. Is there a level of natural intuitive skill that someone must be born with in order to be a top level chess player? Could anyone starting young learn to be a top level chess player? It depends on what you mean by top level. For example, I am a grandmaster, but there are still many grandmasters in a category that's much higher than my level. So, yeah, I don't know. Do I enjoy any types of strategy games or just chess? I do like strategy games. I like all sorts of different games. Games are fun, but chess is the main game. Henry Hughes Chess, you're willing to put in the time. More power to you, Henry Hughes. I mean, I've seen you on these streams a lot. I'm glad you're watching, taking in the insights, and you can make progress, for sure. Chess is a very difficult game. There's so many different possibilities, many positions with different nuances. Knight g6 here would have trapped the rook on g7. Then playing bishop f6 made sense. This also looks good. Black is just going to castle queenside, and then eventually put the rook on g8 and offer a trade. EPL 6-6. People don't need to chat. Maybe they've got some shy people up in here in the chat. Do I enjoy Hold'em poker? I do. I was talking about this earlier. Hold'em is fun. I enjoy playing casually. If I'm in Vegas or something, I'll play a bit in the casino as well. But yeah, I definitely don't like it as much as I like chess. D3 here is winning a piece. Look at that fork, hitting queen and bishop. Queen takes D3 coming in response. The rook on D3 protects it all. Yikes! This pawn, bishop G4 check. Bishop G4 check is gonna, if king E1 is rook B1 mate. Now bishop D3. Knight f3 actually. Play knight f3. You cut the escape square. Okay, this wins a rook, but knight f3 would have cut the king away from the d2 square. Would have led to a direct checkmate. I don't play League of Legends. John, I appreciate that you're only watching because it's me, but there are other great streamers on chess, and they're often not doing bullet chess. It's much harder for me to get the full scope of the position for you in bullet chess because things are happening so quickly. And normally I want to stop and make moves on the board, then come back and, that kind of thing. But right now I'm just going way too quickly. So now white is winning a pawn because there's so much protection of this d5 square. And even if you don't take it, black is left with these double pawns. So white ignored it for now, put a rook on c1 at some time. And okay, this is a phantom phantom attack, because that G-pawn is not getting targeted for real anytime soon. Problem is, black still has these weak pawns, is going for a sort of attack. Oh, kind of. Okay, well, that game's over. So I clicked the wrong thing there and it went into highlight and analysis mode. Golden State Warriors, G3, fianchettoing the bishop. And sometimes you make these moves, like if you see what white's doing here, white is moving extremely quickly and had to take no time to make these moves that are very close to your mouse. So it's a trick you definitely learn in playing over the board chess, where you make moves that are very close to your clock, so you can just hit the clock very quickly. Okay. Henry Hughes chess. You have placed well in Arena Kings, and you beat a GM and FM. Oh, there goes the ambulance. Living in Manhattan means you can hear things on the street. You beat a GM and FM the last few weeks Blitz, so I hope you make it in the knockout this week for Blitz. I hope so too, Henry Hughes. I'm a fan of yours. Tomorrow's Title Tuesday. I didn't even realize that. I don't know if I'll be playing. Totally forgot. Wow. So GM JLH as Grandmaster Juden Ludwig Hammer, he's closing the gap on Grandmaster Tang. They're only 5 points apart, as Tang has won 3 straight. Hammer has now won 9 straight games. And Golden State Warriors is reasonably close as well. Everybody else is very far off. Thank you, Kinth Wreath. Peace out, man. That's pretty funny. About too impatient to play slowly. It's quite true in some contexts. Yeah. Queen f4. This knight is pinned to the queen. Now queen f6, or the f7 square in particular is very soft. Wait, it's a free piece. Mate. King has no escape squares. We have Finns and Penguin GM1. So everyone's favorite YouTube video maker. That is Finns, John Bartholomew, Johnny B, JB. I don't know what other nicknames he has. What is this? Oh, 94. Big blunder. 3 minor pieces for a rook. Ouch. This is resignable. So 2 rooks, knight, and a pawn for just 1 queen. That is just such a ridiculous lead of material. There are about 30 minutes remaining here in the Arena Kings, Royal Arena Kings, but stay around after the fact for the knockout event. And that will be easier for me to deal with because there will only be 1 match. You know, every match that goes on will be going on independently, and I can just follow the match instead of beep-bopping around from player to player. Sorry, trying to keep up in the chat as well. Do you make a living off playing chess? Making a living off playing chess is very difficult unless you are the top of the top of the top. But it's kind of a gamble in some ways because like a lot of events where you go, if you're a grandmaster, you really only make money if you win the tournament. So yeah, you know, you have to be prepared to, if you have a bad showing or let's say you're tied for first going to the last round, you get nervous and you lose, then you get nothing. It's not a salaried position like in sports. Searching for Bobby Fischer is a pretty good movie about chess. I'm not really a big chess movie fan. I don't know, a lot of them are like Illusion Defense. I'm not a big chess movie guy. A Pawn Sacrifice, which came out a couple years ago. And there's a Cuba Gooding Jr. movie, I believe. Life of a King or something like that. So, Liam Shez, 12, what's going on? In this position, we see a material imbalance. Black has 2 knights for one of these white rooks. And 2 knights are better than a rook typically. And in this position, the knights will eventually reign supreme. The problem for now is that there are some weaknesses in Black's camp that need to be taken care of. So that actually just hangs the f7 pawn. I don't really know what Black's intentions are by this knight g3 stuff. Now that's a weird one, we'll just take it. That also opens the g file for the Black attack. And Black won on time. So Vladimir Demjanovic played not well. Let's see here. White is up a knight and a pawn. So White wins by resignation. Oh, Brooklyn Castle is also very good. I was actually the premiere of Brooklyn Castle. What's my favorite normal movie? I don't know what you mean by normal. You know, if you just mean what's my favorite movie, The Silence of the Lambs. Love that movie. I'm a huge movie fan. So I have a bunch of movies toward the top of my list, but Silence of the Lambs is definitely up there. Looking in the chat. Henry Hughes Chess. Chess.com will see that you're live during the tournament. You can always reach out to people on the staff, but yeah, they'll be keeping an eye on you. All right, here this bishop on c6 is kind of a dud. It has not got nowhere to go. Can't go to b5 with a pawn here. Can move, retreat. Okay, that hangs a bishop on e7, so that's a terrible move. Checkmate. So UNC 07 has dropped to 14th place. Earlier, UNC was towards the top. Now UNC is not. Okay, what's going on? Count 3 pawns. So this should be holdable with best play, but Black doesn't have much time left. And now it's definitely not holdable. Bishop takes d5. Sorry, getting a lot of messages here. Okay, let's get off of this game. Halvard HF has fallen to 36th place. Halvard was really doing well earlier. Now seems to have hit a wall, and unfortunately it means he will not qualify for the bracket portion of this day. Bigfoot, hello. UNC 07 isn't streaming. Well, UNC 07 will not be playing the bracket stage then either. Knight f5 check was a nice move. If the knight could have went to f5, this pawn is pinned because the king, this rook is pinned because the queen. So knight f5 check was a really good and interesting move. Now, White just got away with more material. White is up a rook and a knight, and so Black throws in the towel. Also, White was up 27 seconds. Let's see. What's my favorite opening strategy as White? I don't know. I like to play d4. I like to play e4. I'm pretty open. That's one of my both greatest strengths and weaknesses as a chess player. Is I'm extremely flexible and will play pretty much anything in any game. But it sometimes means I lack the depth necessary to keep up with super strong grandmasters in various openings, because I'm hard to pinpoint in the preparation stage, but I'm also hard on myself in terms of actually getting necessarily the positions that I know quite well. It is super duper hot. Okay, white's taking some pawns. Getting a bunch of messages. All right, here white is down a rook, so somehow I missed that. Probably when I checked my phone over there. But white's down a rook. It's hard to actually make progress for black because this bishop and pawn configuration were perfect, and I was about to say white was up a lot of time. But sorry, these two protect each other. I mean that the rook have a hard time breaking through. So now Penguin GM is playing Ginger GM. So that means Grandmaster versus Grandmaster action. Ginger GM, known for spicy chess. He's known for saying harry the H-pawn, and he loves to sacrifice material, so don't be shocked if that happens. Sad the games. Sorry, Sunshine. These games are really, really fast. A lot of the games that we typically do are not nearly this quick, but that also allows me to save more of my breath. Wawa Juice, what's going on? And Halvard is only 3 points away from making it to the bracket. There aren't a lot of streamers this time. Didn't know that. I don't know who's streaming. I know I'm streaming, but I don't know which of these players are. This king on d2 for Penguin GM. That's why black retreated the queen, because the king on d2 is not optimally placed when there are heavy pieces on the board. But if the queen's retreated, the most powerful piece, then the king feels much safer. So for now, the king is a little bit out in the open. But soon enough, this rook will come to d1, this king will come to c2, or bishop c2. There's no checks on this king for the time being. And so this is a decent looking position. Bishop takes a4. Oops, sorry. My arrow messed up. This is a sad, sad queen that is about to be lost. And resign. It's not too early to resign. Your queen's trapped. You're losing it just for a rook. White is well ahead, and the resignation did indeed occur. Golden State is up 2 pawns, and now the king is castled. The king is safe. E4, F4, just continue gaining space. It's a very clear 2 pawns. I would have taken on g5 and played e5. Yeah, better watch out for this pawn, because you can go e5, and in fact, e5 is a good move. Now I would probably try to take knight takes f5. Yeah, now black is just losing one of the rooks. Skewered. Why would it comment about bullet chess? Because, well, you gotta. You know, I'm here trying to cover this important event. It's very difficult. It's madness you missed 90%. Yeah. You know, it is hard to see everything, but it's also fun. For the players, it also trains your kind of intuition and quick thinking skills. Okay, queen e4 is desperate. Queen e8 checkmate next. And I see Halvard. No, I don't see Halvard. Where's Halvard? In 35th place. But it's very possible that there aren't that many streamers going on here. So 19 minutes left of this segment of the Royal Arena King Streamers Championship Week 8. And again, once this segment is done in 19 minutes, we move on to the knockout bracket. The top 8 streamers from this tournament will play for prize money and points. This is a season-long Arena Kings event, and so the points will be good in determining placement for the final streaming championships. How do you best go about getting into chess? It's a hard question to answer. E6, this is thematic. Sack this pawn, break the pawn. F6, now knight f3, and the g6 pawn is hanging behind it. So knight e4, similar concept. The point is that g6 is saying we sacrifice the knight to get here. Well, king h8 was definitely imprecise. Queen g7 right away would have forced the trade of queens in the g2 pawn. Now, whoa. That's a good move. Rook g8, yep, pinning the queen. Blunders galore. It's so hot. You can definitely tilt really soon. Okay, so Penguin GM playing Last Samurai. It's actually a really good matchup. Penguin GM with the white pieces up a pawn. Last Samurai has the 2 bishops. Those are really good in open space. For example, this bishop is unopposed in the diagonal, but now white is just putting the pieces in the correct squares. So saying if you take, you know, I may get these double pawns, so white will still be up a pawn. Bishop takes h6 is very tempting. Uh-oh. Check intermezzo. Knight on e5 is hanging. Take that knight. Or knight c7. So knight d5 was necessary because if the knight wasn't there, there'd be some discoveries in the d3 square. Will I be touring for Europe again? I'll be in Europe eventually. I'll be coaching at the Chess Olympiad, so that will be in Batumi, Georgia. And I'll be playing in the Isle of Man chess tournament in, what month is that? October. How often do I play? Not often enough is the answer. I played a tournament, the New York International Tournament, several weeks ago. Before that, I played in December in Las Vegas, so I play every now and then. Rook h7 checkmate. Game. Pre-move all the way here. So Finns wins because he's pre-moving his pawn. Check, check, queen moves, mate. I'm bad at chess, so watching this cool pathetic toast. You know, it's always, chess is very difficult, but, you know, in bullet, chess is extremely difficult because you often make and see very bad moves being played. Lots of blunders. But again, you know, you can work on finding things in your intuition and figuring out, quickly figuring out and deciphering the position and figuring out the best move. So queen e4 was a good move because it attacks this rook, but queen h7 is coming. Queen h7, and the point is that there are threats of checkmate. I guess knight e5 is hanging in the immediate position, but queen h7 certainly had its merits. Knight g6 check. Knight g6 check would have won the game. Now these pawns are very weak. And knight e2 check. So this queen needs to get on this diagonal. If the queen was on d5, it would be over. Oh, this is pretty bad. So white has some chances here. Well, now white definitely has chances. King's too fast. Look at Tang go. So Penguin GM has won 13 straight games and is well ahead of the competition, and his 173 points lead Golden State Warriors 152, which leads Hammers 151. So it looks like Penguin GM is closing in on capturing the first seed in the knockout. I do not have a set stream schedule on my channel. I travel a lot for chess events, so I do commentary at a lot of big events. For example, I will be doing commentary from July 11th, I want to say, to 21st at the United States Junior and the U.S. Junior Girls Championships. So that will be hosted by the Chess Club and Scholastic Center of St. Louis, and I will be the live commentator there. So you can catch me doing that. Because I do things like that, it's hard to maintain a completely typical schedule for streaming. I am going to start trying to stream more. My channel is GM, twitch.tv/GMHess. Okay, 12 minutes and 45 seconds left. So 30 seconds, counting down, starting now. So getting closer and closer to the knockout stage, and the seedings are becoming more well known. Penguin GM1 is in first. I was told that Golden State Warriors is not streaming, so Hammer GM JLH will be this number 2 seed most likely, and then we have a kind of more challenging race for who's going to be after that. And Penguin GM1 wins again. Unstoppable right now. Laughing with me, there are definitely tons of books that will help you improve your chess. So, trying to think. My System by Aaron Nimzovich is always very helpful in terms of general strategy. Jeremy Silman is a very well-known chess writer, like how to reassess your chess and what's it called, like other books related to chess strategy. Yeah, I'm sure a Google search will help you figure out what to look for. Is chess a game? How many of these people playing chess online? How are you not playing chess online? You just get, same as playing chess over the board, just on the computer. All right, so this white queen, if there was more time for white, let's try to deliver this checkmate. Yeah, and there's really hard to get out of that. You can go rook d3 and then sacrifice material if need be. Hammer white, Paul from St. Petersburg black. Paul from St. Petersburg has been doing really well. In general, last bunch of Arena Kings, Hammer is Hammer. He was second to Linear Dominguez for the Speed Chess Championship qualifying spot. Okay, d6 is a hanging pawn, so now take on d6, knight d6, and this is a big problem. Rook d1. What move should be knight e2? Not take rook d2 or rook d3. Yeah, rook d2 is better because you just put your rook in the second rank, or seventh rank, I should say, and just start attacking. Now the knight trade helps, but rook d1, yep. This rook has nowhere to go, so there's a couple moves away from trapping it. Rook d7 here. All the pawns are under attack. White is up 3 pawns, it's game over. GM JLH wins on the spot. Yeah, that's true. John Bartholomew does have very, very instructive games. Sorry, instructive videos, I meant. Okay, where is Penguin GM? Playing Ginger GM. So this is always exciting. So Ginger GM playing a slow line. Just trying to play quickly and solidly and then outplay his opponent later. Solidly is not exactly part of Simon Williams's word bank. played the world in a game. It was like a vote chess game, and my position was very similar to this. So white has the edge on the queen side. If you cut the board in half, right? Cut the board down the d file. From the A to D files, white has 4 pawns, black has 3. Now 3 on 2. From the H to the E files, these files, black is the one with a 4 on 3 advantage. So both sides will eventually like to play on their side of the board to create a passed pawn. My Great Predecessor is a pretty worthwhile read for players of all strengths. It's a very, very quality series by Garry Kasparov. That's funny, Tommy Shelby. Well played. So that was a blunder. But looks like it should be a draw by repetition, but Tang plays on, understanding that Simon is going to be the one in time trouble because Tang is a much quicker bullet player. Rook d8 check. Remember that. What huge queen blunder. That's a game changer. So white's going to win this one because black hung the queen. No, he flagged. White flagged. You just mate was so easy. Mate with 2 queens is so easy. Force little ladder. You just bring your queens. Oh. We have Tang against you and Ludwig Hammer now. So knight h3. Normally you don't want to put your knights in the rim of the board, but the knight on h3 made it impossible for black to play h3 himself. And now this bishop here is quite annoying for black. So, wait a second. White is up a piece right now. Confusing. Yeah, so white is up a clean piece right now, which is terrible news for black. A minor piece is a large amount of material. Rerouting knights makes sense, solidifying the e5 square. b4 is coming. Maybe b4. Okay, played b4. I just wasn't sure if it's totally necessary. But white is up a minor piece, so Penguin GM1 is so far in big trouble against Ludwig Hammer, but he hasn't put him out of it yet, which means that there's always hope. Okay, Queen D3, or to take that rook. That makes sense. Take on C6. You're up an entire rook now. What would be my repertoire of bullet? I played a lot of first move B3 and some calm things that just let me move very quickly. Rook F8 check, force to trade the rooks, then play Rook H7. Take that pawn. Okay, take the last pawn. It's always important. So he took on D5, which is the last pawn. The rest is simple. And we're nearing the conclusion here. 4 minutes left of this streamer challenge, Royal Arena Kings. And once again, do not go anywhere after the this 2-hour segment is done, because there will be knockouts. And in between this, I will get some water because I'm tired of sweating, but I'll get some water and refresh myself, and we'll be right back when we finalize the bracket, just to make sure that everyone who's playing has a little bit of breather. They know, what the deal is. There'll be mini matches of 5 games of 1 minute. So Andrew Tang, that is Penguin GM1, he'll have the or the best of 5 series against whoever's in 8th place. And Halvard F lost a game, which is sad for his fans. Finns, what is going on? You're up so much material. And it flagged. Finn just doesn't have the mouse speed. He just does not have it. His bull rank's like 2,500. He's just really not on his game today. So that bishop c5 check is really nice here. The one thing that white has going is that if this queen can get on some kind of square, then the queen and bishop battery is phenomenal. The major problem also is this queen coming to c2. It's a pretty good battery of your own. And so queen c3 lines up, going for the mate, but yeah, you just stop bishop c5 check. The problem is the king f1, there's queen e2 mate, and if the king went the other way, there's queen e4 mate. So there's over 8,300 of you right now. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We have 2 minutes left, which means the next game will be the last for most of these players. And the reason why is if you don't finish your game, the game just gets cut. So as if it didn't happen. So if you're playing this and let's say you're losing by a lot, if you just can draw the game out as long as possible, then you have a good chance of surviving. So last games here. Who do we want to see in these last games? Let's go Penguin G1 playing Woju. Woju not here. How about Blitzstream? Let's get Blitzstream in the mix. So Blitzstream with the white pieces, playing Gotham chess. It looks like it's an even material situation here. Both sides have 2 rooks, minor piece, and 5 pawns. But white's bishop in particular looks better than the knight. And you apply pressure on this pawn f7. Now rook takes g6 is a big threat. In fact, it's just good. So is rook takes e7, probably rook takes a6. So king g6, rook c7, or rook b7, or really anything. And the rook can't move because f7 needs to be guarded. And if the knight keeps moving, rook d6 is about to happen. And watch out for the back rank mate. That was the point of the rook trying to get here without the left. So push the h pawn. Bishop g4, h5. Push that h pawn. As Yasser sings, push it, baby. That's mate in the middle. 20 seconds left here. 20 seconds. Let's see if Penguin can win. So if his opponent doesn't move, it's a draw. And time. So Penguin GM won first. Go Golden State Warriors 30 second, but was not streaming from what I heard. Junovic Hammer third. Leon Levaich, Last Samurai, Gotham Chess, Blitzstream, Paul from St. Petersburg. So the finals will be announced very, very shortly. We'll have a bracket up and everything. I really want to take a breather for a half second here, so I'm going to grab some water because I really need that. It's like 90 something degrees here in New York City. Actually, let me check what the weather is. It is, it's only 89 Fahrenheit right now, or so it's telling me. So either I'm being lied to and it's hotter than that, but either way it's super humid. But we're gonna have the knockout situation go on in a sec. I want to shout out again to the 7,700 plus fans, new fans, people just learning chess. And all of you, I want to thank you for being here and for watching. There's more to come, so don't go anywhere. This was the end of the 2-hour Streamers Challenge, but coming up right now is the match play. So Penguin GM1 is the 1 seed. He scored the most points, and he should have an opponent that's something like G moves or something like that, because I believe some of these top players were not streaming and thus do not qualify for the knockout. The knockout starts shortly, in a few minutes. I'm waiting for confirmation for when it can start. And the seeds are as follows. Number 1 is Penguin GM1. That is Andrew Tang. Number 2, Yoon Ludwig Hammer. That's GMJLH. We're looking at the standings. Number 3 is Grandmaster Cemaljan from Turkey, Last 7 Samurai. Number 4 is Paul from St. Petersburg. Wait a second. No, not number 4. Number 4 is Gotham Chess. Okay, just follow the line here. Gotham Chess. That's FIDE Master Levi Rosman. Number 5 is Blitzstream. That is National Master Kevin Bordy, French. Number 6 is Paul from St. Petersburg. Paul was streaming. That's Pavel Anisimov. And number 7, G Moves, is G Moves. I don't know who that is. And number 8 is Chessically Inclined. So we have a really good group of players playing the knockout. Apparently Leon Levitch is not streaming. And let's see if this bracket is being made. So, format for knockouts, they're playing best of 5. 5 games of bullet chess, and so 3-2, 3-1, 3-0, you can wipe them off the board, you win. If it's 2.5, 2.5, then they play an Armageddon game. The number 1, the high-rated player gets the white pieces, and whoever wins the first game wins the match. So this will be exciting to see how this finishes off here. So the knockout works 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3, 6, 4 v 5. Think about March Madness, kind of like that. And then within that frame, they're all playing best of 5 matches, essentially first to 3. If it's tied 2.5, 2.5, then they play where the player with the high-rated player, as in the player with more, higher seeded player, I should say, there we go, gets the white pieces. And so these best of 5 matches are going to commence very soon. We're going to pull up a bracket. We're giving everyone some time, a little respite before playing more bullet chess. I mean, I don't know about you all, but playing this much bullet chess already makes the head hurt. But we'll see how these players are feeling as they get everything set up. Mikey Keys, I am not playing. I am just doing the commentary here. So we'll see. And so I'm waiting for the word. How's everybody in the chat doing? There's still 3,400 of y'all here. We will have much more action coming up in really just a second, honestly. But yeah, I'm gonna get rid of this little clock. Clock is up, and let's see. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have the bracket up here. So take a peek at the bracket, everybody. Look who is playing. Top left, 1 seed, GM Andrew Tang versus National Master Jason Moorfield. I'm expecting a sweep there. Tang is just so much stronger. On the right side, you got the 2 seed, Yoon Ludwig Hammer playing against G Moves. G Moves being a little bit anonymous here. And then we have, after that, we have the 3 seed, GM Ali Morandi. And then we have International Master Pavel Anisimov. Finally, last but not least, FIDE Master Levi Rosman. That's actually International Master-elect Levi Rosman. I played against him in the tournament where he got his 3rd and final international in Master Norm. And so he's International Master soon Levi Rosman versus National Master Kevin Bordy, the French streamer. They're playing best of 5. 5 games. Whoever gets 3, you win 3-2. You win. So the game is going up right now. So let me get back here, and here's the game. Let's eliminate that standing thing. Just get the game up here. So okay, we have Penguin GM1. Wait, is it the second game of the match? I guess I missed the even the first game here. Sorry about that. But we have a 1-0 lead in favor of Penguin GM, and as you see with the white pieces, he is trying to go after the C6 pawn. The A6 pawn is also weak, so Rook B6 here. In fact, Rook B6 was attacking both pawns, and he went the Rook C5. Queen takes C4 was not really a threat because the queen on G5 is protected, and so the H pawn defends there. Now Rook takes C6 is a free pawn and was just captured. D5 is coming next, A6 as well. And he took on E4. He didn't want to allow any sort of knight sacrifices with the E3 pawn falling down as well. And here we see white is up 2 pawns. So there's Grandmaster Andrew Tang up 2 clean, full, healthy pawns. So A5, just use this A pawn, keep it going. This is good. A6, A7, Rook C7. Now you go after this F pawn. Queen takes F8 is a cute move. You could have taken on F8, taken on F7, and gotten the queen. This is much smarter and better. Rook C8 now. And Rook takes F8, and queen is mate. Getting a queen on the side. Game, set, not quite matched. And here we go. Next game underway. All right, so we got the bullet players going, and Tang is about to win his first mini match in the knockout portion. So you see that black is doing well to control the center. This bishop goes to F8, which opens up the E file for the rook. Knight A5 pushes the bishop back and allows C6. And once C6 happens, this bishop breathes new life. And A4, you don't want to take on A4 because you're left with an isolated pawn. You want white to take on B5, so when you take back on the pawn on B5, the open A file is countered by both sides. And now he took on A3, he can play knight C4. He's now coming after the D2 bishop, the pawn on B2 as well. If you trade queens on D1, I guess black didn't want to allow the rook to the open file, and well, that was a bad move. So bishop D2 was definitely bad, giving up a free pawn. So rook takes D5. Uh-oh. Penguin GM is going to lose this one. Bishop B5 was a strange move. He meant to take on E5 first and then play bishop B5. He must have just got the move order wrong and instead goes down a full piece. Knight D4 here to E6 or to F5. It's just completely over. So chessically inclined gets on the board here in this match, because doing well on the clock and a completely winning position. Rook takes G5. Okay, this does the trick. F3, no, king takes F4, now it's a draw again. This is a dead draw. Opposite colored bishops means an easy draw. This bishop will just move around forever, and there's nothing that white can do, because the bishop just stays here. F5 was a last-ditch effort. This is just, they're playing all on pre-moves here. They're moving extremely fast, but nothing's actually happened. They can make a draw at any moment. In fact, they could probably agree to a draw here. So there we go. Game draw by repetition. They've been playing so quickly, didn't even realize that the same position happened many, many times. And so they're going to play another game here. Penguin GM was up 2.5 half. If they draw, then Penguin GM goes through. Reminder, it is a best of 5. So 2.5, 2.5 is a tie. We're trying to see if Penguin GM can kind of validate his 1 seed and move on to the next round of this knockout. So here you see G4, and the point that G5 comes, and the rook on H1 is about to expose the king side here. This is terrible for black. Absolutely tragic. Go knight takes D7, take on H6. Should be easy enough. Now, okay. Queen H5. Resign. Rook h8 mate was the threat. Queen takes e8, takes c8, g3 mate. Okay, g3 was mate before, now queen h1 is mate. Penguin GM1 wins. That is 3.5 to half. That matchup is over. Or is it not? I guess it was. I didn't miss the first game, and somehow it just says 3.5 half. So match number 2 will be hammer and G moves. So maybe, are they? Well, they're playing again. I don't know what's the deal here, because I thought this match is over. Yeah. For the sub and follow, chess is awesome. I agree. It's a very complicated game, but it's very fun. And you really work on your strategic reasoning, and it's competitive. So, Daniel, I can't read that. Your color on Twitch is very bright. Is a streamer playing too sometime? I do play sometimes. But right now, I am just doing commentary. This would be really funny if queen f8 check. Okay, I mean, now white is crushing, but queen f8 check, if you took with a rook on f8, knight g7 would have been mate. But of course, you would take with a bishop on f8 to avoid that very exact checkmate. So knight g4 hits the queen. So this knight e6 is always a double check. Okay, now now the rook is trapped, so queen takes h8 is a threat. And now, what takes? Whoa, why did he take the bishop? That was a huge blunder. Huge blunder. Well, that's over. Now it's over. So it says 4.5 half, but I believe it's 3.5 half. But either way, dominating show by Penguin GM1. He was totally busted in that game, but chessically inclined was a bit too slow, and he tried to get fancy with bishop takes d7 check first. So the next match should start very soon, and hammer is up next, and I believe hammer is playing G moves. Let's see. Is the next match underway yet? I don't see it yet. So waiting for the next match to start, and it's hammer up next. And I'm following hammer, so whenever his game gets underway. And I'm just looking at the chat. There's we have just a little private chat to make sure the players know that they're about to start their game. So the games will start. Got ready to rock and roll. Oh, G moves is offline, so hammer wins by default. Well, that's a little less exciting. G moves keeps asking why said you're playing. G moves, apparently you qualified for the final 8 because some other people weren't streaming. Hammer and G moves, I'm trying to get you back. No, G moves, this is the Royal Arena Kings. So you got to get back on and go play Yoon Ludwig Hammer. I'm trying to let you stay in. Get in there. G moves, go. G moves is struggling to understand the format here. Oh, G moves is ready. Let's go. I got him. I got G moves back. So G moves is back in action. Let's go. We got them in. So that was great. I didn't want them to see a forfeit happen. It's always good to actually win your games, both as the victor and, as the person who qualified and would forfeit. So we see in this game that G moves has adopted a pretty sort of backwards setup. His pieces haven't left the final rank for the most part, but he's moving very quickly. That's part of his strategy here, clearly, just to move as relatively as quickly as possible. Sometimes you think for a second or two, but he actually, his position is not bad at all. He's closed down much of the board, so you have 2 bishops for white, and 2 bishops love their open space. But now that he's gone f5, and you look at this bishop on b2, these bishops can get traded at some point, and we might see this bishop get outclassed by the black knight. Knight h5 is perfect, hitting this pawn on h4. Rook f8 now. You have to be careful because f4 is a pretty big threat now. So queen e7 back to avoid f4, and the point of f4 was that there was a pin on the e5 pawn with the queen on f6. h5, sort of a risky move, but the king can come to h7, the bishop can go to h6, and then the rook, oh, the rook cannot go to g8, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But the bishop h6 now hits this pawn on e3. And they're about even on the clock, so that's not too big of a concern at the moment. So knight h6, f4, uh-oh. I don't know about this sacrifice. Now g6 is totally getting crushed. Queen f6, and if take on e6 at some point. Rook takes e6. Rook takes e6, you protected everything. Queen h6, okay, we offer a queen trade. f5, good move. Yeah, this is bad. That's a connected pass pawn. Queen. So GM JLH wins, and they're immediately off into the next game. Man, no rest for me. Whoa. So Hammer with the black pieces is the worst position. This pawn went to h5 and then took on g6 and took with the f pawn. I do want to open the h file more than it already had to be opened. Weird decision to take with the queen on f3. Pawn takes f3. At least kept the d4 pawn protected. Now, what are we seeing here? And black's just going up material. Bishop f5 check, bishop d3, knight takes e5, winning. So what's black up? Black has a queen and piece for a rook. Game over. Hammer wins. 2-0 in Hammer's favor. When's the next game coming up? So, one more. Well, one more win by Hammer and it's over. And here they go playing again. Okay. So G moves. How does king on f7? Somehow he's been doing some weird things, but he's moving quickly. So that's the benefit for him. And he just was in the Twitch chat saying he should have relaxed for a second. He was super nervous. There's no reason to be nervous, G moves. Just get, you know, keep on keeping on. So black has very limited space, but white has no targets. If white ever goes c5, okay, now white would go d5 immediately with knight f4 and take on d5. Here comes the, you could take on c4, but knight e6, knight takes e6, and then ideas start having with knight, ooh, rook b8. He clearly went to go to c8. That was a mouse slip. Okay, it's not over yet. This is a target, but now black's gonna go knight g5 because white should take on e6 and play rook c7. Knight g5. Well, knight g5. I guess there's rook c7. Uh-oh. That's it. That's game over. That is game, set, match, and Ludwig Hammer wins this one 3-0. And so we have trying to get exit out of all this useless former games going on. So it looks like it's Gotham chess up. Right? No, not Gotham chess. It's Ali Morandi and Paul from St. Petersburg. G moves, that was a good showing, good attempt. I'd say play a little bit too passively, and so they got punished for it. You know, it's nice to move quickly. Nice to move quickly, but sometimes you would just have to play a little bit more aggressively. So here we have Ali Morandi with the white pieces against Paul from St. Petersburg. This is the first relatively equal matchup. The others were still strong players, but the Grandmasters showed their strength and experience for the win. And white is going for the very typical queenside expansion, although black has it covered. Look how many times black has the c5 square covered. Knight, bishop, 2 pawns. And the a file already being open. Knight b5 won a pawn. In fact, won an exchange. Knight b5 hit c7, hit the rook on a3, and the rook was not on c8 at the time. So knight b5 first was just very strong. So bishop b5, yep. And the e4 pawn was hanging a second ago. But now that bishop on c3 is just hanging. So knight b3 or rook b3 seem to have to be played. Rook a1 does nothing. Rook takes c3. Paul from St. Petersburg wins a piece and should easily win this game now. So d5 is one of many moves that win. Rook b3. Check. Yeah, this is a problem. If you ever go b6, knight d7 wins. Okay, b6 falls, and once b6 falls, the rest. Okay, now the bishop on d6 was hanging. But they're moving very quickly and not moving well. So Paul from St. Petersburg has done everything incorrectly after a great showing. I mean, he's moving very quickly, but he's up 13 seconds, so there was no reason to start blundering all the pieces. And 4 seconds, 3 seconds. 3.8. Uh-oh, that f7 pawn. I mean, this game has been ridiculous. This is just what happens in Bullet. Mate, wow. What a comeback by Ali Morandi. That was ridiculous. My head hurt just looking at it. And it didn't hurt just because they're moving quickly. They hurt because, how quickly, can we get the score up? You can see the score next to the players' names down here. It says 1 down here, and above, next to the white player's name says 0. So those are the scores. That was ridiculous, that game. I mean, seriously, Paul from St. Petersburg was just completely crushing and had much more time, and then started playing super quickly and super poorly. And here, all right, so knight on g5 is quite nice. Try to trade all the rooks, king f7 at some point. Okay, now just rook e8. King f7 was not necessary. And queen e6 first might have been better than knight e6. So the dark square bishop isn't really doing all that much. Knight f4 was smart. If you take it, I take with the pawn, and then my king moves out the g file. My queen controls the e file. So king g6 here makes sense. Queen g6 also attacking c2. Okay, c2's been hanging. Queen takes c2 check. Queen c1 check. Is queen e3 check is not good. Oh, no. Take. King g5, king f3. King G3. You don't have any way to create a pass pawn. This is bad. This is really bad. So G5, G6, B2, G7, queen, queen check, queen, another queen check, up a pawn. It's got weird really fast. Oh boy. Not the square your queen wants to go to. Stalemate if he moves king. And there you got it. Checkmate. One to one. We have a close match. So far it's been Paul from St. Petersburg blowing the first game. And yeah, now we have him evening up the score. So Paul allows that knight to just capture the bishop, and now exactly a4, just breaking open the queen side. Probably would have preempted a4 a little more. Didn't want to trade all the pawns to the queen side. It looked nice to just keep the pawn a6 for black and start attacking. Okay, knight e6 is just brutal. Yep, bishop a7, safe there. Rook c7 coming next. Rook c8. Oh, sorry, there's knight e7. Uh-oh. Freeing the other rook. Rook fb1, or queen a6, I guess. The bishop on a7 covers the f2 square, so rook f, if you take on f2, bishop comes back. Bishop e3 now, yep. Queen takes b8, queen takes b8. You turn the table. Oh, I missed queen takes b8. If he took on b8, he would have distracted the rook from protecting the first rank. And Last Samurai wins. And goes up 2-1. And here Last Samurai with the black pieces. And we're definitely missing Georg Meyer today. So Meyer wins everything in the Arena Kings. Maybe he's just distanced himself so much that he wanted to take a break. So both sides maneuvering with clear intentions. C5 is good. Note that D5 does not trap the piece because the bishop would have taken. The queen was on E2. So D5. Okay. Would not have played knight H7. Bishop takes H6. Bishop takes H6 was a very good tactic. Overlooked. Queen G4 also was winning a second ago. In fact, Queen G4 won the queen on D7. Same idea as Bishop H6, but Queen G4, the red knight takes H6 check. All right, Paul from St. Petersburg still in the driver's seat. The longer you let your opponent stay in the game, the more likely it is that you end up blundering and losing. Rook d7, nice. The queen was pinned, so it couldn't take the rook, and now black is clearly down a lot of material and a lot of time. This one's over. Can I turn on the file row indicators on the board? I can. I don't know how that turned off, honestly. Board. Coordinates. There it is. Sorry about that. Now that should be clear. It's funny because I always have it on. I don't know how it turned off this time. Bishop takes f7 check is opening up a discovery, but the discovery was to go knight g5 to e6 to bring the pain. So 2-2. This is for all the marbles. So what is going on here? So Paul from St. Petersburg with the black pieces in it's a tie 2-2 match. White is just ripping everything open. Queen takes b3. You can trade queens if you want. You don't even have to. He's now going bishop c4 to trap that queen. Oh, the queen is the a5 square. So it looks really ugly. Knight f7 has been hanging for like 4 moves. But instead he's continuing to rip open the queen g2 check. Yep. That bishop's unguarded. b6 mate. Well, I guess basically just force you to trade. Sacrifice your queen. Now rook b7. Huh? Bishop e3 check was just brutal. There it is again. Rook b7 check. Rook b8 check. Queen a8 mate. Grandmaster Ali Morandi wins that one. Really well played. And am I following them? Yeah, I'm following them. So they're about to start. Gotham Chess and Blitzstream. I believe those are the two up next. There's Kevin Bordy and Levi Rosman. And they're getting underway here. So, bullet matchup, 1 minute each. Levi Rosman takes an f6. It gives black some structural problems. I love playing like this in bullet because I feel like people do not like having double pawns in bullet games. So queen b3, e3, knight e2. Okay, he puts knight on f3. It doesn't really matter too much the specifics here, but I guess he's going after this bishop. e4 no longer possible. So white is just going after this light square bishop. It doesn't actually do anything. Yep, bishop d7 makes sense. Wait, rook takes e2 is a free pawn. Huge blunder. Uh-oh. Now do a rook d1. And so black is up a pawn. The rook on the second, 7th rank is good. Okay, no more extra pawn. a6 falls down. And the bishop does a good job of defending the e2 square. So knight h3. If h5, knight f2. Here now knight f2 as well. Seems reasonable. Okay, bishop f1. Knight g5. That f pawn is moving pretty quickly. Rook e2 now. F3 almost worked. This should be good. Winning. Knight g5. $13 seconds left for black, 7 for white. Black is up a piece, so there'll be 2 pieces. Black wins by resignation. Come at me, bro. There were not police sirens in the background. Probably ambulance, that's what usually happens. What is going on here? Some g4, f5 type of thing. So what is happening here? Blitzstream has an open G file to work with. Gotham Chess, Levi Rosman's done well to open the position up. Now bishop takes f4, knight, wrong move order. Bishop takes f4, won a pawn. Bishop takes f4, still wins a pawn. And now c takes d4, knight takes d4, queen f2 check, queen takes g1 check, game over. White is about to resign. Knight takes queen. Knight takes c3, queen is under attack. Resignation. So both sides have won with black to start the match. So e4, knight d4, castles, knight takes c6. Okay, or the trade here, take on d4. I would have taken on d4 to put the queen on d4. That the queen actually doesn't want to be there because knight f5 hits it with tempo. Yeah, this is not ideal for black. Isolated pawn, but down d4. White shouldn't have played knight c3, that was rushing. Black is totally fine here. Okay, so we're in an endgame. Black is up 10 seconds. I don't know if that's enough time, considering the few pieces remaining here. But knight f4 check, the force king f3 is a good start. King here does not look right. H6 is smart. King e4, play king e4. You cut off the f3 square, and now you can go f4 check. Look at that knight on b2, it's a terrible piece. And now the king can just run to d4 into c3, for example. Now to d3, run king d3. Knight f6 check first, king d3. Knight e3 check, e4 6 trade, take f takes e3, the queen happens. So knight d1, king h6. Oof. You can't stop that h pawn. This got crazy real fast. What? And there's nowhere to stop the pawn except by sacking for it. Okay, so white can't lose, only 2 pawns left for white and knight for black. So white can try to flag black, but white is the one down on the clock, so you just got to push the pawns. The king comes to e6, knight d5, take. Yeah, this is just. It's just a draw. No time left for white, no mating material left for black. Still got nearly 2,000 people watching here on twitch.tv/chess. Thank you for staying with us. I know that I'm tired. You all might be tired just watching Bullet, but yeah, a lot of chess still to be played in these brackets here. So it's a fun time ahead. So knight on d5, the bishop on g7 is very strong. Wait, I look away for a second and black's up a piece. And black's just winning. 2.5, 1.5 means that Blitzstream needs to hold this game. You can't afford to even make a draw. You need to win to tie it up. Eric Davis, where can you see the bracket? Well, the bracket I have right here. I'm going to go back to it later, but right now these are the who's in the bracket and who has moved on. So I got to go back to the action. Sorry about that. Yeah, and right now white is doing very well here. Levy Rosin with the white pieces. He's very comfortable in this type of structures. Knight on c5. So if you take, this knight's coming to d6 with check. Taking on c5 makes sense, but all of the pawns are coming down here. Keep an eye on this bishop on g3 as well, because if this pawn on e6 is lost, then that bishop opens up. So knight d6 check was an idea to start trying to take here. So he does it now, and e6 pawn is a problem. I wouldn't have necessarily offered that queen trade. C takes b2. Well, bishop takes h8, rook h8 is good for black. Black is currently up a pawn and about to win a second. I guess the e6 pawn falls, but look at black's majority over there on the queen side. All the pawns will start pushing. Don't go c5. c5 runs right into rook d6. So you have to play a move like Rook c8. The pawn h6 was just hanging. King d2. b2 now. Queen, take. It's g4 check. King e5. Knight e3 check. Rook b1 checkmate. Rook takes c6. Knight e3 check. It's over. Mate. All right, took on d5 out of desperation. Blitzstream wins. Checkmate on the board. So it's 2.5, 2.5. We're now into a tiebreaker. Next win moves on. So consider this the penalty kick shootout. And the setup with a6, c6 looks very weird, but it makes some logical sense too, because d6 exactly. Knight can go to d7 to f8 if necessary. So queen b6, knight a4. The king's already on h1, so there's no bishop takes e3 check, intermezzo. Now take on and play e5 or b4, also good move. Oh, not a good move. I forgot that pawn was hanging. So black is really escaping here. Oh, queen d8. Oh, I thought queen d8 was mate, but this is almost winning. Queen e7. Now rook a1. So finally that bishop is developed. It's on a really long diagonal. c5 here. Bishop d5 should be played. I think you need to get rid of this knight at all costs. Uh-oh. So rook g1 is met by rook c to c2. King g1. Bishop king takes f1 or b7. The idea is play b7, knight d7 check. So rook e7 is the move you have to play. And after rook e7, I would play a4. Now I'm taking on a6. I'm playing a5. This is a problem. Knight takes a6. No, wait. Okay, it doesn't matter, I guess, but he could have just taken on a6. Yeah, so rooks are better than knights, but unfortunately here there's passed pawns galore. Watch out for the king, though. The king might get mated. In fact, the king just got ensnared in the mating net. Rook d3 is so smart. Trade on d3, b7. You can't stop the pawns. Just push. Just push. Don't stop pushing. And you're up on time. Go, 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 go. This is huge. You're gonna don't flag though. Take on e4. Take on e4. Get a queen. Queen f4. Oh my! White's gonna lose. Wow, that was nuts. That was so crazy. That means Gotham Chess moves on by flagging. That is, I mean, that's by far the closest match we had. That was so crazy. Levy Rosman moves on with just an insane comeback in that game. White was playing so well, was just outplaying his opponent from start to finish. And then all of a sudden, things got rough and Levy Rosman got tough. So, whew, that was crazy. Just craziness everywhere. So I'm shocked, honestly. And the bracket is going to be updated shortly. But Levy Rosman is the one moving on there. And I believe, yeah, here we go with Hammer and Last Samurai. That is Grandmaster Ali Morandi, who's a student at St. Louis University. Grandmaster Jon Ludvig Hammer, the second best player from Norway, or maybe third right now after Ari and Tari. I'm not sure who is the higher rating at the moment, but both very, very strong players from Norway, following in the footsteps of Magnus Carlsen. So that was really, really, really close matchup. And as I'm going to pull up the brackets here. This is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing Grandmaster Ali Mirandi on the right side playing against Jon Ludvig Hammer. You can see them right there in the middle right of the bracket. And Tang and Rosman will follow suit. So Rosman gets a little breather before getting back at it. If we look at this position closely, we see the rook has the open h file to deal with. But at the same time, white can always go rook h1. And so queen e4 check here picks up the bishop on b4. In fact, this bishop has a hard time staying alive. Queen h3 is the one check. So king g1 gets made to queen h2. King f3 keeps that king running. So Hammer getting the better of Ali Mirandi in the tactics here. Mirandi's still up 3 seconds, but that's not enough for a full knight deficit. Excuse me, full bishop deficit, I should say, because both sides have a knight. And here queen c7 check is not lights out yet, but it's going to be pretty painful. And black doesn't even have a single check. So the move rook d1, for example, I have time for. That is a sweet mate. The bishop cuts the king off from e7 or f8. d7 covered by the queen. Knight puts the king in check. Game set. Well, it's not match, so I got to stop saying that. For the sub and follow, absolutely, you're welcome. I'm enjoying it too, though I'm, getting to that point where I'm losing the breath a little bit. Gotta breathe. Okay, just reading some of these comments here. Still can't believe the flag by Levy Rosman. G5, what is that? What if I just take it and take that? This knight's coming to d6. This knight's taking h7. Knight takes f7. Yikes. If c takes d4, well, now knight f8 checks a threat. Bishop h3. What's going on here? So right now, material is even. It's crazy. Even material. Knight takes e5 here for black. Bishop e5. Queen takes e6. So knight c4 or knight f3, I guess. I thought knight c4 was stronger, but yeah, knight c4 put the knight on a safe square, so it was definitely stronger. Here, the knight on f3 can be attacked. Say queen d3. Rook f8. So rook f6 is a war. King there. Rook d6 checkmate. Oh, rook d6 was mate in one. Now he blundered the rook. Rook takes e5. Rook takes e. Oh, you gotta take on e5 and you win the. Both sides blundering everywhere, but they're on 5 seconds left. So who is gonna? Okay, well that's a. This is all messy and hanging. Well, black is winning on time. Oh, there was mate. Queen e7 mate. Hammer wins on time. This game was ridiculously back and forth, and unfortunately for Ali Mirandi, he goes down on time. Just nuts. So, everyone tuning in, I'm sure your heads hurt as much as mine do with these games, but it's been a real battle and a pleasure. So knight takes f3, queen f3, bishop g4, trap the queen, and they somehow missed that. So white was winning on the spot. Excuse me, black was winning on the spot for knight takes f3. Now black still is in an amazing position thanks to the total control over the light squares. Even if you go knight takes h3, which you should do, okay, or not. Even if you took on h3, at some point my queen is going to get into the action and the light squares are vulnerable. That is a cute way to win the exchange. So, Ali Mirandi doing very well. Queen takes d5, looks like a pawn. Okay, now queen d5 is won by rook takes b2. And now knight c3 to e2 is a check. That's knight d2 here. Chess Bay, this is fun. I'm like, trying to figure out what's going on here. Everyone's moving so quickly. This knight on d2 is hanging, but the 94 is hanging back, so not really a hanging piece. So why is black moving backwards? You know, black was doing well in the attack. Take on h3, nope, then 94 loses a piece. Rook takes d1 now. Okay, queen f5 is definitely better than rook d1. And rook b1, game over. Rook b1, winning the queen, back rank checkmate. Queen takes f3, or that. White is losing on time. So for a second I was like looking at the clock to see if somehow white was going to win on time. Again, just swindling a victory from the jaws of defeat. And we have a 2-1 match. So that was a huge win for Ali Moreni. He couldn't afford to lose another game. As soon as it gets to 3 points, it's over. So why does Hammer keep allowing a knight to get to d6? This has happened multiple times now. h6 wins a bishop, game over. I say game over, but I shouldn't in bullet. But what I mean by that is essentially if this was a real classical game, you know, where time for each player, white is simply up a minor piece, which is an insurmountable lead. Twitch Railbird, I corrected myself before you did, so imagine me just sticking my tongue out at you. Heh. Queen takes e5. So what's happening here? Rook d6, very smart move. Winning the d2 pawn. Now d7, d8's a threat. So and rook takes d2. The pawn is hanging. So black is rook takes c1 wins. The bishop covers c1. Queen f5. Or this, queen f5. That's funny. Queen, 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 queen. Checkmate. 2-2. So the last samurai is pulling a hammer. And what I mean by that is if anyone saw the Speed Chess Championship qualifier match between Eric Hansen and Ludwig Hammer, Hammer was down 10-8, and you know he was on the brink of defeat. And what he did was just win the next 3 games to win the match. So if Last Samurai wins this one, he pulls the full hammer and comes back to win a match he was down 2-0. It's back against the ropes. Queen e7 was a weird move. Queen f5 looked much better. Okay, queen trade. So how bad is it for black here? It looks really bad. But now rook f8, if knight e5 check, I take a, what? Rook f8 was clearly better. So black's down 2 pawns. White's pawns are all connected. Knight comes to c5. Hammer is winning this one. 4 pawns. Was it 4 pawn lead? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 5 pawn? Are you kidding me? 5 pawns. That means that white can lose a rook and maybe still be better. This is weird. b4. Rook c8 check, rook b8 check, trade rooks, and then win. But Last Samurai has really held in way longer than I expected. So just go g4, g5. Actually, you know, king f4 to g3. Okay, this is just simple pawn storming. G7. Queen me. And Hammer, unless he flags, is going through to play in the championship matchup against the winner of Gotham Chess and Penguin GM. So that was exciting. That was really close here. Frank Ruttens is pushing, baby. Got some hammer time emotes, so people are happy right now. So next up are Andrew Tang, Grandmaster, and Levy Rosman, International Master Elect. As in, by the time the next FIDE list, FIDE conference, whatever that's called, happens, Levy Rosman will be a International Master. Yeah, his status is pending for like the next week. Okay, back to this chess. What is a lot of H-pawn movement by these players? Tang down on the clock early. Strange to see that. Whoa, what is this? Take it. Okay, black is going to try to get dark square control. F6 at any point wins his pawn right back. Knight G1. Play Knight G1. What? This looks terrible. F6 won the bishop. Oh, Queen CH checkmate. F5 there. F5 was a good move. Cutting the queen off from the C8 square and keeping the rook on A2 under attack. Okay, this also looks very good. Just don't go Knight D3 check too soon, because then rook takes D3 and there's the rook, you know, this pawn is pinned essentially to the queen. Queen D7, nice, offering the queen trade, trying to get this knight to D3. And Tang, not much time on the clock, but that knight on E1, I guess it can take on G2 right now and should take on G2, but that knight got stuck. Okay, rook trade offered. Knight G4. So what's going on here? Knight E3 check. Rook E3, nice. Whoa, it's close to mate. Rosman flags, not surprising. Tang just moves a mile a minute and flags Levy Rosman. But that was just a weird game. Levy Rosman was ahead on the clock early and had a better position. So here Rosman is in the comfort zone of the London system. He really likes this. He loves, you know, getting some expansion on the king side. And G4 wins a piece. The knight F6 is hanging. So, or sorry, I guess it just wins a pawn now. Okay. So the knight will escape into the king side at some point, but F5 is a very good move. The pawn E6 will be taken back shortly. Doesn't need to be taken now. And watch out, because king H1, okay, the queen can't go to H4 yet, because queen E4 covers that square, but if that queen could get to the king side, it would be trouble. Now rook H5 is a huge threat. Okay, rook F6, H, okay. I can understand this game so far. Knight takes F2. Knight E8. Knight E8 is coming with check. Oh, wow, what a tactic. King G7, Knight E8 check. You pick up the rook on F6. Nice. Very nice. Knight G4 check. Rook C7. Okay, that was not necessary. Rook T5. Rook T5. Wow, blundering rooks. The problem is Levy Rosman is lacking the knockout blow. He's getting very, very good positions, and he's, in fact, like winning positions, in fact. But he's not landing the knockout blow, and Tang, being as fast as he is not going to let Rosman survive too long there. For everyone tuning in now or has not been following for the last 3+ hours, this is the Royal Arena King Streamers Championship, and it's a special edition this week because normally there's 2 hours straight of Bullet or 2 hours straight of Blitz, depending on the Monday. Mondays is Bullet, Wednesdays is Blitz, but today we had the 2 hours of Bullet and this knockout event where the top 8 moved on here to play in bracket style format. So White's king is actually very safe. The bishop on h2 is very good. Now the rook on the h file means that the h8 rook isn't just going to help deliver a checkmate or anything. So bishop takes g4 is always possible. Now it's definitely don't do it, but my point is bishop g4 and bring the knight to g3, knight e2 to g3. Now knight takes f4, knight e3 check is a big threat. King g8 should be played. And how does white move forward? King g3, wow, no fear. King takes f4. What? What is the king doing on f4? I guess it's actually just helping out. Black is in more trouble than I realized. Can you go knight f2 here? I mean, he's got a flag, but... No, rook takes h7 check. And then... Oh! He meant to take on f2, but it doesn't matter. Way too fast from Tang. Ouch. So we're going to get a little bit of a 1-minute break here. They'll be right back, but I just want to give Tang a little bit of time as he gets ready to face Yoon Ludwig Hammer. And about to get an update on the bracket so I can show it to you. But Hammer Tang, that's the matchup we've been waiting for. And we're giving Andrew a quick break. He was very, very strong here. He actually was in quite a bit of trouble in several games, but Levy Rosman can never land the knockout blow. And when you let very, very quick players stay in the match, you're going to end up flagging even from superior positions. So the king on f4 was doing well. That was a 3-0. He blanked him. You don't see that every day, but with Andrew Tang, this is sort of par for the course. Now I'm going to pull up the bracket here just so everyone can see what's been going on. As you can see on this bracket, from the left side, Tang beat Chess.com inclined 3.5. Hammer beat G moves 3-0 after G moves was about to forfeit because he didn't know that this was the special Royal Arena Kings. Then we see in the bottom right, Ali Morandi, Grandmaster Ali Morandi beat Paul from St. Petersburg. That was a very close match where there was very back and forth, but Ali Morandi ended up on top. The bottom left, Levy Rosman won in a nail-biter against Kevin Bordy by flagging him. That was a crazy game with both sides queening, Kevin Bordy having a winning position, and unfortunately for him, he went down to Gotham Chess. Gotham Chess got blanked by Andrew Tang just now, and before that, we saw Yoon Ludwig Hammer go up 2-0 on GM Ali Morandi, only to win in the 5th and final game of the match. And we're back in the action here between now GM Yoon Ludwig Hammer with black, Grandmaster Andrew Tang with white. And we see another sort of London system set up, bishop to f4 to h2. You play very solid chess here. And Hammer moving extremely fast with the black pieces. He has a 4-second advantage in the early going. And right now, this knight on g5 looks a bit threatening, but it's not doing anything. White would love to get a queen over to the h-file, but after move like g4, you're going to have to spend a little bit of time protecting this g-pawn before you can actually move to the h-file yourself. So black ignoring everything on the h-file that looks silly because queen h2 already looks very devastating. Threat is bishop takes to f6, removing the guard of the knight on h6. So there, something looks off here. I guess taking a rook h8 is coming, so maybe black isn't time to defend anything. And black up 2 seconds still. Very happy with the clock situation. Queen c7 is a good move, actually spying on the king side. Now knight takes e6 followed by g5 was a possible knight sack. Ooh. So this is what I was aiming for, but I guess Hammer just missed it altogether. So take. So black does have this annoying pass pawn, but white is simply up a knight right now. Yeah, this is bad. Down a full piece, down, okay, about even on the clock, but you're down a piece, so that's the bad part. Queen 8's a nice move, trying to take on f3. Queen d4 check. Okay, queen c3 is fine. Oh, that's mate. Well played. Checkmate, 1-0, Penguin GM1. Okay, calm set up by Hammer. Once again, he's been doing a very good job of getting his opening moves out very quickly. So he's been up several seconds in every game, and that's really his main shot, is doing that. Knight g5 now hits the bishop on e6 to win the c4 pawn back. You can't go bishop. Oh, it hung a piece. Bishop takes d5. h7 is mate. That was a huge blunder. Now bishop takes f7 check. Or bishop takes c4. Keeps an extra piece, because if h takes g5, then you took on f7. The queen on c4 was c7, excuse me, was hanging. So Andrew Tang, he's down quite a bit of material here, and he's down 3 seconds on the clock. So Hammer should be able to convert this, but never count Tang out. I've said time and time again, Tang's been in trouble, and he's been able to escape, so watch out. And this knight's coming to d5. Okay, king up. So, yeah, just h4, g5. Now g6 is a threat, forcing the king to the back rank. And now knight b4, knight c7, great move, going to e6. Even smarter, knight e6 check, knight takes g7. Okay, we're not. f6 check is close to a win. The rook d2 is much smarter. Now rook d3, go rook d3. The threat here is take. If you take on d3, now f6 check, f6. Move order didn't matter, but f6 check does win the game for Hammer. Hammer played an excellent game there, up 8 seconds, and with a winning position. So this knight on h3 thing is not recommended to all you players looking to improve at chess, but it's played by Mr. Tang because it is bullet. And black's position looks decent here. I'm a little concerned about you have to go h6, that this is an annoying clamp, and this pawn at some point is going to h5. And that's going to be quite frustrating to deal with. So look at both sides aiming over there towards the king side. Oh, hate to see a move like that, but okay. Sneaky Tang just winning a pawn outright, because the bishop on e6 was hanging. So if the queen had taken on b7, then bishop on e6 would have been lost. So where does this knight belong? I think the knight has to somehow get to e6. Knight takes e5. Knight e5 was hanging because the bishop on d2 was hanging, so that was a missed opportunity. Bishop c6 for white here. Wow, what is going on? You go knight g5. Okay, take first, knight g5. Bishop, yeah, they just start distracting the queen. Okay, black's king is actually surprisingly safe right now. Queen c6 check, though, is something to keep an eye out on. Oh, nice. King h5, queen h3, queen h6 mate. But Tang down on the clock here, so if Hammer can move very, very quickly and not get mated, he will pull this one off, a magic trick. And he's still fighting here. He's up a second. And here now I hear, that sounds like the police. Trade everything, king g6. Nope, ambulance again. And Hammer's down the clock and down 5 pawns. There's no winning chances. Game over. Hammer loses on the board and on the clock. So 2-1 for Tang. They've been trading off victories right now. Here comes Tang. He just needs one more point. But again, Hammer has been in this position before, just the other day against Eric Hansen. He was down 10-8. He won games 19 and 20 to tie at 10-10. And then finally, he won game 21 to win 11-10. So that was a really clutch performance. So this knight on e5 trade. Okay, e5 is hanging now. Is that important? Bishop d4, good move. Now if you take on knight d4, I take with the pawn, I don't lose a pawn. If you take on e5 with either knight, you're gonna have problems in the b6 square. So what's going on right now is that the white light square bishop is technically a little bit better than the enemy light square bishop. So they're both gonna shuffle around for a while, but white can try to sort of infiltrate on the h7 square. So queen h7 is always an option. And now they're just messing around. So knight c5 was an option there. If you're black, you're going to try to get after this d4 pawn, but now go b4 if you're white. White should go b4, try to go b5. Okay, that's not a great decision, I don't think. f4, just play f4. What are you thinking about? Queen f4, okay. Pin the pawn, force f5. You want, okay. So there's about to be a problem with this d4 square. In fact, there's a huge problem with the d4 square. Now that hung a pawn. Knight f3. That knight just made a hilarious journey. Queen d3. Now white's, oh, the knight was hanging on c6. b5. Take on d7. Okay, don't take on d7, but g5 is going to be weak. King c3, take on g5. Well played by Hammer. Hammer's playing amazingly well right now. Go knight h5. Take on g6. Wow, they're both hanging everything. Take the pawns, Hammer. f4, f5. f4, f5. You're up 3 seconds, Hammer. Go! Hammer's a beast. Man, we're talking about how fast, what's his name is? Tang. Were we just watching the same game? Because everyone's talking about Penguin being fast. I'm sorry, Hammer just dominated him in that game. That was a very impressive finale. So 2-2. Whoever wins this game is the champion. If they draw, they keep going. That was awesome. That was phenomenal. Hammer is just a beast. Right? Hey, look at Hammer going a3, saying your c3 pawn is under attack. So that bishop on b2 is sort of a dud for the time being. Knight a4 coming. Knight takes c3. Don't do that. Bishop takes c3. Uh-oh. Wait a second. Bishop takes queen b2, b4. Nice move. Knight d4. Hammer's a genius. Knight e2 check. Give me that. Take that rook. Take the rook. Or take on f4. Or do that. You have so many good options. Take on g5. Okay. Take on f3. Wait, what do you just take on c1? Take on c1. No. You just hang queen g7 mate. Hammer forgot that queen g7 mate is going to be a thing. Or maybe he planned this. I don't know. That looked very weird to me. So his king is actually surprisingly safe for the time being. So maybe he's just going to try to go for the queen side. Oh, that's a scary move to make. Rook to f7. So knight takes h7 at some point is going to be an interesting move. Oh, that's not a good move. Knight d5. Game over. Knight e2 check. Oh, but you're going to sack the queen. Queen h2, knight g3, queen takes g3. Queen takes g3 was winning. This is also very winning. Knight e7 check. The king is mated, unfortunately. Game over. Knight c8. Okay, knight c8 was winning. This is also winning. Whew. Tang. Tang is victorious. So in this match, Tang ended up on top. Seemed like having the 3 whites was a huge advantage in the end because they traded off victories. Hammer really held his own. Tang proved to be the supreme bullet player here. And yeah, that was pretty awesome. Whew. That was a lot of fun. I mean, the speed in that game, particularly when the hammer won, I was just mesmerized by. But I'm looking at the chat that I have with some of the players, and Last Samurai says, amazing speed, guys. I will practice more with a smiley face. So Last Samurai, good sport about this. He lost the hammer, but it's all Tang right now. And the bracket will be updated in just a second. I'll pull that up for everyone for the finale because it was a wonderful final. And here we actually do have it. That's the final bracket for today's Arena Kings Streamers Championship, the Royal Arena Kings. In the end, there could only be one victor, and it was Penguin GM1, Andrew Tang. And so you see that from the right side of the bracket, Yoon Ludwig Hammer made his way through, swept G moves, beat Ali Morandi in a close matchup, and then barely lost to Andrew Tang. Now, if you look on the left side of the bracket, Andrew Tang wins 3.5 over Chessically Inclined, while he then faced Levi Rosman, who actually had just maybe the most fun match of all, is that match against Kevin Bordy, where it came down to both sides queening and Levi Rosman dirty flagging Kevin Bordy there. So unfortunately for Kevin Bordy, wasn't working out today. And as I mentioned, Tang swept Rosman. Rosman had some good positions, was never fast enough. Tang used the momentum well to his advantage. And over there on the right side, after Hammer dispatched Ali Morandi, Hammer went down to Tang. So, with all that being said, Tang is the champion. He wins the Royal Arena Kings Bullet section today. A phenomenal showing by him. No Georg Meyer, no Krikor Mekatarian, so we were missing some of our favorites. I'm probably not anyone's favorite, but I do play this sometimes. And you keep watching, I believe, Snatch Pato? Is that right? Who's going on next? I don't know if that's the correct name, but everyone should stay in. There's much more chess to be had. And once again, this was Grandmaster Robert Hess. You can follow me on my channel at twitch.tv/GMHess. I'm here all the time doing commentary with Danny Wrench, Pro Chess League, etc. And Tommy Shelby, I appreciate that I'm your favorite streamer named Robert. Let's see. I'm pretty tired. I don't know about all the fans here. We're about to switch off from me to go to Snatch Pato. And I'm just going to ask if it's time for me to go. And if it is, then I'm out. I'm sorry to everyone who, for whatever poor decision making, wants me to stay on. But I'm looking to see your channel is over your face the whole time at chess. All right, I'm being told to get off. I'm out. Everyone, it was a lot of fun. Please keep watching. Glad you all tuned in today, and enjoy your Monday evenings, or if you're elsewhere and it's past midnight, your Tuesday early morning. Have a good one.